Hello, this is the December chat. I had a false start that I cut for YouTube because it was echoing everything because it was recording the desktop audio also. And that was coming back through Twitch, I guess. So first off, sorry well, one, I'm sick, but not real sick, so I should be able to keep going. But if I'm looking like a zombie, that might be why. First is sorry there's no Freeman's Mind this month. I mean, I haven't had it since the last one. This is one of those where I would just kind of want to hide and people would assume I'm dead. It was a combination of source bugs which got overturned. There's going to be a new name in the credits because of that. I had to get the code modified. Or rather, it's not a source bug. This one was just sort of a source shortcoming. There's a different source bug that may manifest itself. I don't know. That's coming as soon as they can get it out. Well, it's also, I have to wait in the sound effects editor, but it's totally not his fault that this one's late. Just was working on many different things that some of them, they'll be finished soon. And then, whereas Freeman's Mind is a little more ongoing, you know, so it's, I unfortunately can prioritize things that I do it, then it's done, rather than things, well, okay, I'm done with that episode, but I gotta keep going. Because I know there could be more of them. I am gonna have a Christmas game dungeon. Still don't know how it's gonna turn out, but I'm quite optimistic about it. The last one was definitely more of like it's like a fortune cookie, you know, the last one wasn't meant to be that big a deal. What other announcements? Oh yeah, I'll answer some questions people had first before I get to the pre-submitted questions because some topics came up that are bigger than usual. Saying the bug's gonna get fixed at source 2, sure it will. Oh yeah, and not really related, but something I'm interested in. The game Dirty Bomb, I think ends after this month. If anyone has any ideas how to preserve the maps from that, even just being able to just run around in the map, either ported to either an engine port or just being able to run the game completely offline, you know, you can't connect anyone even. I like them. I thought it was pleasing, had good aesthetics. So it's a game that's going to get killed. And, you know, I'm kind of flailing around helpless with it. So that's one I feel like it has aspects worth preserving. So if anyone has any ideas on that, you can email me, you know, rustwscott@gmail.com, or don't even wait on me. Just grab it, you know. Okay, so there's two topics that came up. I realized I thought I should probably talk about. First is the COPPA thing, or COPPA. I guess it's probably COPPA with an acronym. A lot of you watching this probably know what that is, but the simple version is YouTube collects data on everyone and for everything, even when they say they're not. And they got caught doing that for minors, so they had to pay a $170 million fine, which I heard was 2 days profit, but that seems too low. I mean, maybe 2 months or. Anyway, they had to pay a fine. They had a settlement agreement, and part of that is they're going to implement this system to make sure they don't collect data on minors for that might be watching it. And if there's one point I want to get across on this, it's yes, the FTC is partially to blame, but after listening to lawyers talk about this, and my understanding is that Google has absolutely weaponized this. So they knew they were going to get hit for it, so they handled it in a way that's going to cause maximum chaos. I've heard they have multiple other alternatives that would have created less of a nightmare for everyone, but they deliberately chose not to do that. So again, I listen. See, now I'm rusty on the details. I listened to Hoag's Law Hogue Law's take on it. I thought his was pretty good. I think I saw more than one video by lawyers. Yeah. Then YouTube released a video saying, if you're not sure how this affects you, please contact your lawyer, as though the average person or YouTuber has a lawyer on standby. Like, oh yeah, contact your lawyer. Like, maybe contact your grocery. I think most people have a regular grocery they go to, not a lawyer. But according to multiple YouTube lawyers, they have said if you were their client, they could not advise you because the laws were so vague on this. But so it's not entirely clear what's happening. Like I've heard the narrative switch about 3 or 4 different times during this time span. So I don't know where it is now, but one interpretation of this is if you're releasing a video that the FTC interpreted as appealing to minors, then they could fine you up to $42,000 or something. I mean, I laughed when I heard that because if they got hit with that, they might as well fine me $1 million because either one's gonna take me to bankruptcy, So yeah. I guess the most conservative interpretation of this is, the more I find out, the more I realize it's a catch-22 because, okay, it's gonna screw some people regardless. Okay, if you're making a video that's obviously not for kids, then you're fine. You just label your video as being not for kids and you're fine. If you're making videos that quite clearly are for kids, then you have to label that and they're gonna lose a lot of revenue. Everybody else in between, like let's say you talk about games that yes, some kids could watch that, maybe not, or I think the one person that some groups that are getting hammered hard are people who talk about toys or Legos. They might be getting screwed by this because they're gonna have ad revenue fall off drastically. So if you're making content that's intended for everyone and kids might find it appealing, then you might be getting screwed. But if you're not, but let's say like in my camp where my audience isn't really kids, although a few of my videos, I mean, not Freeman's Mind, maybe 1 or 2 civil protections, it wouldn't be an issue if kids watched it, even though they're not exactly a target audience. Or some of the game dungeons where they're just kind of, a few of them are kind of meant for everyone. If you're not intending it for kids and you mark it as not intended for kids, it's a catch-22 because then if the FTC decided, oh, nope, you have a game with bright colors and stuff, that appeals to kids. If they decide that, then you get hit with the fine. So you could mark it as not for kids, in which case the FTC doesn't care, and then you get hit with a fine. Or you can mark it for kids, even though it's not, and then you might be found, then let's say there was a swear in there or something, then you might get fined by then you might get, you'd be guilty of violating YouTube's terms of service, and then get hit with a penalty that way. So they're literally, for a lot of videos, my understanding of it, it's literally a no-win scenario the way it was explained. So once I realized that, I just decided, you know what? I'm just gonna try common sense and see what happens. Fortunately, I'm not the first into the fire here. Again, Lego channels, they're the ones that are just dead meat probably. And then it's gonna be people who are like covering like kid-friendly games or something, but maybe not necessarily targeted kids. So I think I mentioned in another chat, or streaming, I'm not the canary in the mine, I'm one of the miners. So I'm gonna watch and see if the canary dies, essentially, because this is such a massive mess and it's gonna affect so many people that it's some sort of solution is gonna emerge from this, but it's gonna get really ugly for people in the meantime. I mean, it's funny too, because this penalizes probably some of the nicer YouTubers out there. People make, you're kind of Mr. Rogers knockoffs, for the modern age. So yeah, I saw a perfect comment on this that just sums up everything. Well, almost everything. I didn't come up with this, but they're saying this is like penalizing directors because a kid snuck into the theater that was meant for an adult, for like an R-rated film or something. So a kid snuck into the theater for an R-rated film, so now you gotta find the director of the film. That's kind of how this works. But again, it sounds like YouTube could have easily not made this chaotic. I mean, but they chose not to do that. And instead, everybody's kind of scrambling and running around and not sure how this is going to go. So I don't know. Yeah, the only 100% safe way to, like 100% safe, you will not get in any trouble, is basically delete every video that could possibly be seen as in that in-between area where it's not 100% obvious it's not for kids and not 100% obvious it is for kids, you know? And that's such a drastic move. I don't advise people to do that. I think the odds of most people getting hit are quite low. But again, if you've been making kid-friendly content, you might be screwed. So you'd be curious to see where they go on this. Because if you're marking your content as not for kids, that's essentially saying, yes, Google, collect all information on people who watch this video. So if kids end up being a portion of that, well, then the FTC can say, oh, you said, you're basically collecting, they're passing the buck on to the users. Or attempting to, anyway. As I understand it, this entire situation is wobbly legally, but... So yes, the FTC is at fault in one sense because this is a little outdated and they're not being clear in this. Also, what they're saying on paper apparently is quite different than what the representative said. I saw a clip where the representative saying, you know, that YouTube, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. What YouTube is the barrel and the YouTubers are the fish. It's like, what? You know, like, it's like, yeah, the YouTubers are like, they're like cattle. We don't want them running all over the field. We want to like herd them in the line into the slaughterhouse, and YouTube's the slaughterhouse, so we can get them to come in there so we can kill them. I mean, that's kind of how the messaging worked on that. So the messaging has been terrible from them. However, it is not just them. If the lawyers are to be believed, then YouTube is, I think they're weaponizing this. I think, okay, the conspiracy theory version, I have no idea if this is true, is that YouTube still isn't turning a profit, I don't think. So they might be using this as an excuse to sort of, oh, we're getting hit with this fine anyway. You know what, we were finding, we needed to come up with reasons to get rid of more people uploading videos so we're not, you know, in the red on YouTube. This is a perfect excuse. Let's just purge everybody this could possibly apply to, and that'll cut down the people uploading videos. That's not where most of our profits are coming from, or revenue. So this is win-win. This could be win-win from YouTube's situation. They can pass the blame on the FTC so they don't look like the bad guy, and they can shove more people off the platform. That's one theory. I mean, it's possible. So I have no idea. I mean, well, it's like I mentioned in the demonetization video. I don't know how YouTube does it with just sort of endless video accumulating. It's kind of staggering for me to think about. So, yeah, I plan to make, and it's funny too because I learned all this before the Harry Buster episode, which I was planning to do anyway. And Harry Buster has a cartoon animal, a sing-along. So I'm thinking, geez, you know, I mean, it's intended for kids. I mean, but that's an episode where I don't think it'd be a huge problem if a kid watched that, though it's not targeted for them. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and just keep doing what I'm doing and marking my videos as not for kids. So we'll see what happens and see who starts getting sued. I don't think I'll be in the first wave, but you know, it's like, yeah, like don't gamble with your life, like in the episode. But again, you know what? YouTube might find another reason to purge more people. I mean, yeah, the conspiracy theory is YouTube kind of wants to become the next TV, where they kind of want to foster the, the sort of old guard of media, where, major television stations, that sort of thing, or Disney, because they can bring in a lot more advertising revenue for them directly, and they kind of want to abandon the long tail because it's maybe too problematic for them to manage. Anyway, that's the conspiracy theory. Don't know if that's true, but so that's the thing. You can blame a person for having conspiracy theories, but when YouTube doesn't clearly communicate their intentions at all, then what do you expect? I mean, it's like before I started doing these monthly videos, theories as to what happened to me when there'd be like a gap between videos. So, yeah. So, yeah. In my opinion, I have no idea what you should do if you're running. If you're running stuff that's leans towards kid friendly, you might have to market as kid friendly and lose a bunch of revenue. Everybody in between, try to use my advice. My non-legal advice would be to just use common sense, and but there is like that 1% chance you will get hit and then get hit with the fine. However, if they are really going to charge you $42,000 per video, there's no reason not to fight it legally, because your legal bills are probably going to be less than what you get hit with fine-wise. So you have nothing to lose, essentially. Or rather, you have everything to lose either way, So, yeah, they're probably only... And my cord's caught on my chair. 1 second. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to maintain my course and see what happens, because the odds on this seem too low for me to like really just take down the videos. And even if I took down the videos, I put them right back up somewhere else where the qualifications were more sane. Yeah, I mean, or hey, put it up on a site where you have to confirm that you're 13 years or older to watch the videos. I mean, it sounds like that's kind of all, well, there'll be a little more tweaking things, but whenever you're talking about a company worth billions of dollars, they can do almost anything they want at any time, especially if it's something simple like a UI tweak, So again, the Hoag Law video, well, he had more than one on it, was pretty good. If you clicked, are you over 13 years old but see, they already sort of did that for YouTube already, to create a YouTube account. So I guess maybe to view the YouTube videos without a YouTube account, maybe you needed that. You'd have to confirm that you're over 13 or something. It sounds like that's all they might have needed to do. And then sort things accordingly. But they went the maximum chaos route, so we'll see what happens. So yeah, I'm not saying this won't affect me, but I think the odds are low, and I'm just not going to lose sleep over it. This doesn't bother me as much as what Machinima tried to do to me. Because at least, worst case scenario, if I got hit with this, I do bankruptcy, I wouldn't be banned from making future videos, So it's... what? Oh yeah, okay, so the other topic I knew everybody was going to want me to talk about is Half-Life Alyx got announced, the new Half-Life game. I don't have, oh yeah, and somebody was asking like if I'll be moving the source to, yeah, let's talk about that first, because that's easy. I have no plans to move to Source Engine 2 for anything. Valve, I could be wrong, but just playing the odds, Valve would have to just completely blow my mind with their competency, with the technical competency, for me to go back to the Source Engine. I just have zero confidence that's going to be the best route for like on the developer side. I mean, like I've said before, Civil Protection isn't necessarily dead. It's just sort of in stasis and might come back after the movie. But if it comes back, I'll just probably port the assets over to Unreal, you know. So yeah, it would look slightly different, but it'd be the same sort of thing. So saying in the comments, I think Source 2 still uses a heavily modified version of Quake 1 engine. This came up when I was streaming. Gabe Newell has a quote from a few years ago where in so many words, he basically says, yeah, if you're a developer, you should probably be using something like Unity instead of Source. So that's not his exact quote, but that's clearly the implied intent of what he's saying. So that kind of says it all. I mean, something between Unity and Unreal, that's a much closer race, you know, or like, oh, well, it's better, some things better than others, but Source, man, there's no way I want to spend hundreds of hours on a video only to find out towards the end what I had planned is not, now I find out it's impossible. And not because not because it shouldn't be possible, but because the engine just decides this no longer works anymore. This core function that should work no longer works. There's no explanation why. Nobody has any documentation on your specific problem. You're just like floating out by yourself in the ocean. So yeah, okay, so yeah, no Source engine move. As for the game itself, I guess I'm probably not going to be doing Freeman's Mind for that because you're going to be playing as Alyx. Though, yeah, some people got pretty upset about this because it's VR exclusive. Two things I'll say. One, if they had announced this with Half-Life 2 Episode 3 as a standalone game, I think almost no one would be upset about this. Like just no one. Because then like, oh, okay, because, well, okay, yeah, I guess one of my thoughts is, okay, I'm jumping around my brain. Okay, so the second point was that for everybody upset about this, I would almost be willing to bet money that at some point, somebody mods the game so you can play it on a mouse and keyboard and you don't need a VR headset. Now, I mean, they said, I've heard quotes saying, oh, they never be able to do this. Like, no, what's gonna happen is you'd have assist. Like in the trailer, they show you, you know, fumbling through these shelves and grabbing some ammo and loading it. Well, okay, on the modded version, you press the space bar and then the ammo snaps to like and right in front of you, like the gravity gun. And then you press space bar again or R and then that loads your weapon. And what would happen is the mod would have recorded these pre-recorded movements for the hands to send the signal to say, okay, make these steps with your hands, and then you're basically just triggering these activities. So I'll be amazed if that does not happen at some point. I mean, I'd say probably within the year. I mean, from when it releases. Could be much sooner, but because there's so much, there's going to be so much hype around this for it being the latest Half-Life game. Yeah, somebody's saying it's a crappier game. Yeah, I mean, it probably won't be as fun then, but I mean, it's not impossible. It's not, especially if they're going to have mod tools. I just can't, I'll just be blown away if that doesn't happen. Yeah, you know, that at some point you'll be able to play Half-Life Alyx on mouse and keyboard, and yeah, it won't be the same experience. It'll be kind of more like QuickTime events that you're hitting instead of actually manipulating things yourself with your hands. But, okay, yeah, another take on this is, one, okay, let's say this wasn't a VR game. This is just a new Half-Life game. Okay, one, I'm probably the wrong person to ask about this because, again, my brain is sort of burned out at Half-Life. But if it wasn't, prequel, it's really hard to make a prequel that people are really excited about because you know what happens. Because I was thinking, it's like, well, you know, I've seen City 17. It's like, again, a prequel's much better as like a side game to go with like the main game or something like that. Like I think what people would rather, well, maybe this is like it. I haven't checked details. I mean, if you're gonna have a prequel, you probably want like the 7 hour. What was it? This, I forget if it's six. I think it's 7 hour war, because that'll be much different setting. Or if you're gonna have a Half-Life 2 prequel in that same time span, well, it probably means less sales from a marketing perspective. But personally, I'd rather see stuff. I don't know how it turns out. Like, okay, we have a prequel in City 13 or something, where it's the same sort of environment, but we don't know what the fate of that place is. Does the city collapse? Who are the characters here? I mean, you know, you're not filled with all these characters where you know about how it's going to turn out. You know, however Half-Life Alyx goes, the Combine are going to win in some way at the end of it, because Half-Life 2 exists. You know, whereas if it was another city, yeah, you don't know what's happening. I feel like the only way, okay, I know a lot of people hate this movie, and I understand why. However, one thing I think they did really right was in the movie Prometheus, it's a prequel, but it just goes off on the side. It's like, well, wait a minute. Who are these engineers? What were they trying to do here? It raises mysteries that you didn't even get from the normal Alien movies. And that's exactly what I want to see from a prequel game, you know, or just a movie or anything, because you want something kind of fresh that you don't know how it's going to go down. And I don't know. So this could be for any series, just about, unless the prequel was so radically different from the original that it may as well be its own thing. So again, I would have liked seeing, well, again, they don't have to worry about appeasing me, but I think I would have handled a prequel differently, or yeah, I don't know. I want to see it like veer off to the side, you know, or another good prequel, which I'm not sure really counts, because I had no idea it was a prequel until years, maybe decades after what I saw. It was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. You have no way of knowing it. Yeah, that's a great prequel, because yeah, well, one, you didn't even know. I think most people probably didn't even realize it was a prequel when they first saw it. I mean, I didn't. But it's its own standalone thing. I mean, whatever happened with the Ark of the Covenant, well, this is a totally different territory. So, yeah, see, everybody's saying in the chat, that's a prequel. Yeah, apparently it is. It's a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, see, that's the best way to handle prequels, because otherwise you're just sort of connecting the dots. And I guess that's fun for some people, but that never gets me that excited for games where I care about the story. If I just, like if it was like a driving game, then sure, make a prequel, whatever, you know, but. Okay, so as for VR aspect of it, I mean, okay, a few thoughts. I think it will lead to more VR adoption. However, if I had to guess, I think VR is going to remain kind of permanently a niche thing. However, it's going to be an extremely devoted niche. So I don't think VR is going anywhere. I mean, it's not going away. So don't worry about that. But I understand why Valve's excited for it, but I think it's just not as accessible for the average person. And actually, one of the new founders of modern VR, Palmer Luckey, he had a statement a few months back where he kind of thinks the same thing. He says you can give away VR headsets for free, and only a certain amount of people are gonna jump over to it. Because it is, put it like this, on one hand, VR is one of the most amazing things you can see. However, it can demand a lot of like just your senses and perception and everything. I mean, I guess even myself, I may sound like a heretic here. Look, I'm still extremely excited for VR in general, for exploring worlds. But I'm not sure how sold I am on gaming in VR. Because if I look at the things I do in games that I play, I don't think I think I would just be overwhelmed by that in VR. So it's like you kind of, I mean, this isn't for everyone because you're kind of having to process a lot brain-wise when you're in VR. With, I mean, it's probably more so for me since I can be prone to motion sickness. But like I think in one of the old video chats, I was showing footage from Deus Ex Human Revolution, and like I shoot a guy, then run around to the other side and like reload, switch weapons, throw a grenade, maybe use some augmentation, take cover, like full. Okay, one, that would make me sick trying to do that in normal VR. But two, even if I didn't get sick, that's still the amount of actions you would have to do. That you're basically having a tactical workout at that point. You know, that'd be like playing an aggressive round of paintball or something like that. And the small disconnect you get from VR versus reality, that starts amplifying things, and I think kind of makes your brain, it requires more brain power to keep that all in sync. Again, maybe you're somebody who can handle that just fine, but a lot of people, they're gonna struggle more. An analogy I make is, whereas if you're just sitting in a game, you can think about it more clearly and stay focused. If you're, yeah, somebody's saying they would go for a tactical workout. Well, it can be good, but then do you have good ventilation where you are? Are you ready for sweat? You know, and that's another thing. Like if you're really exercising sometime, you want to try this. Try and do a complicated math problem in your head. Like divide, I don't know, divide 125 by 37. That's not even that complicated, but most people can't just do that in their head. They have to think about it. Try doing that when you're sitting and rested, you know, without a piece of paper, just in your head. It's like, okay, or get an approximation. And then try to do that while you're exercising, when literally not as much blood is going to your head. It just becomes frustrating and it's not as nice. There's some things you can do quite well, you know, when you're exercising. I think they're probably more spatially conceptual stuff, but there's other things that are kind of tricky. So I think there's always going to be a divide on VR and gaming unless they really nail down the disconnect between reality versus VR, however small that is. So I think it may be a bit of a lost cause what they're doing, and they're definitely testing their fan support by making it a Half-Life exclusive after being so long without a Half-Life game. But in favor of VR though, I'll say this. For any naysayers of VR, if you haven't actually tried it, then I want to say you don't know what you're talking about, all right? If you tried VR and then you're like, yeah, I don't like this, it's disorienting, I don't want, fair. But if you haven't tried it, it's kind of like saying someone doesn't like color who's only seen black and white. It's like, well, maybe, you know, it's about on that level. Although you can always do the poor man's 3D where play a game with a substantial amount of motion and then just keep one eye closed. You know, it has to be moving, like, you know, so you're running forward. That's the poor man's 3D if you want to do that. To get a sense of what you're missing. That'll give you a clue as to what you're missing out on. Okay, well, some people are saying they enjoyed Half-Life 2 and the DK. See, I just may be at the more sensitive end of the spectrum for gaming and VR, even though I'm still completely in the zealot camp for wanting more VR experience. Like again, I want VR tourism kind of is what I'm after, but yeah, I'm and again, it's not just me. Palmer Luckey said something similar, and he knows more about VR than I do, I'm sure. So it might be a bit of a lost cause what they're doing. However, if that gets more people to try VR that wouldn't have, a certain percentage of those are going to be blown away and just not look at things the same again. So they can kind of pass on that. It's almost a curse in a way. This is going to tie into a future video I have planned, but yeah, that's, I guess I don't have much of an opinion otherwise. I mean, it's, I guess a lot of people are glad that they're going to have more Half-Life in any form. So, yeah, well, I'm curious of the comments there. Oh, yeah, well, that's legit. Somebody says they're afraid to try VR in case it ruins gaming for them. Getting back to that, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. You're not gonna look at games the same way. You're gonna see. Okay, that's, even though I can get overwhelmed by gaming, just even basic stuff in VR. Maybe I'll adapt to it better, but I don't know if I'll ever get to it fully like the way I do with regular VR. You're gonna, if you're like me, you're not gonna look at games the same because you're gonna like, man, I want to get inside that world, you know, and it's not always a great fit for VR, and it just becomes a. So yeah, I guess try VR. If you're a gamer and you haven't tried VR, be prepared for a lifetime of like frustration and a nagging doubt in your head of how much more amazing some things could be. So it's, the good news is 2D games are still going to be completely fine. I have no regret playing 2D games after doing VR. Just like, oh, it's a 2D game, fine, you know. Just okay. I should move to the actual questions now, but I knew those were ones that people were going to want me to talk about. Okay, Ross, what would you call your fans? We have accursed farmers, accursed cattle, Ross heads, your own suggestion. And someone else, there's some more recommendations. You know, I don't know. Okay, this may sound dumb to some of you, but I feel like I haven't done enough to earn that. I feel like I've only produced 1/10 of what I've wanted to. So it's like, oh, I have a fan base based on that. So it's like, well, that's good. That keeps me afloat. But it's like, man, no, I've got to get more. You know, that said, out of the names listed here, Acolyte sounds the best. Or I was thinking like Residents or something. I guess, I mean, I don't know. I don't really take a high across the board hierarchical, however that's pronounced, approach to things. A lot of things. I mean, I just kind of see this as like, you know, talking to somebody who's just come over to visit, except it extends to thousands of people. So, okay, I thought it. Nobody's getting the echo again, are they? Yeah. Yes. Okay. It's. I thought I heard something else, but maybe not. Oh no, desktop audio is muted, so it doesn't matter. Okay. So next question. Ross, if you had to summon a Lovecraftian creature, which one would you choose? I looked up, I didn't know the name of it, but I looked it up because a lot of the Lovecraft creatures are all sort of the same thing, where they're this kind of impossible monstrosity that just has nothing good of it's gonna come for the human race. So the one I would go with, I think, would be the Yith. They're the ones that I think there's, I can't remember if they're plants or not, but they're this sort of ancient race that, like, in the lore that existed millions of years ago on Earth that they projected their consciousness into. And from what I remember, they're sort of the closest thing you have to like a kind of a halfway benevolent race. I mean, they did have a mandatory kind of foreign exchange program, but other than that, I think the way they were described, they're quite enlightened and just this extremely advanced race. So that would be good to have around. And she's not into this stuff, but I'm sure my wife would want to choose the talking cats that live on the far side, dark side of the moon. There might be, but yeah. I mean, I love sort of Lovecraftian themed stuff, but if we're talking about actually bringing one of those into reality, I think the Yith is probably going to be the best way to go. They're gonna. It's been a while since I read that. I think it's the Color Out of Time, or the Color Out of Space. I get the titles mixed up sometime. I'm sure the chat will correct me there, but yeah, I think that would be one of the better options. But yeah, they're it's sort of moving the mouse cursor around. It captures that on top, even though that's not where the window is, the computer. Okay, let's see. What are your thoughts on Half-Life, Alyx? Well, will there be a follow-up on the VR follow-up? What motivates the occasional thumbnail change on your videos? Maybe I'll have a follow-up on the VR. I feel like everything's in flux right now. Like with VR, I mean, this is honestly one of the most exciting points in like computer hardware in the recent decade for me. It kind of reminds me of where video cards were in the late 90s, where you didn't just have NVIDIA and then ATI. You know, you also had Matrox, you had S3, you had 3DFX. I mean, it was just, there's so many sets coming out that are out or coming out. This is one of those things where, yeah, I thought about it. I guess if I make a video, I kind of want to have it to be kind of like well produced and watchable, whereas I'm sort of resisting the dark side, I guess, where, look, I could probably have a video on this out tomorrow if all I did was just turn on the camera and just talk and stammer and there, I'm done, and then upload. And that's what a lot of YouTubers do, but I feel like, if you're coming here, I should give you something better, you know? But unfortunately, it takes more time, and that means less videos. So I don't know. I like having some presentation for me. Doing stuff like Game Dungeon and Freeman's Mind is the compromise in itself compared to stuff more like Civil Protection or the movie, you know. So I mean, I guess I could throw something like that up on a Curse Farms junk, and then a lot of people won't see it. But yeah, it's in flux. Well, I mean, I do this. This is sort of the compromise here. Because then you know, the more I do that, the more I'd probably get half the views of a normal video if I did something like that. Whereas I spent way less than half the time. So that's why I call it the dark side, because then I'm producing less like long-lasting stuff you might want to watch after a couple of years because it's, you know, I try to put some presentation into it. Whereas it probably would boost income and maybe viewership some too, but I don't know. I'm just kind of going with my instincts on that. They're saying, what does it matter if it's well produced? Okay, I think somebody messaged me on Twitter directly, so it's not in the. Oh no, there it is. It's entertaining enough to watch it. Well, then it's like, you know, I'm not living up to my capabilities, you know. Instead of getting the movie, yeah, you might have gotten another 50 extra videos about me just talking to the camera about some general topic, which, I mean, I'd rather have, even if they meant more money and more views, I'd rather have the movie or something, or more Civil Protection or something like that, where, I don't know, in my mind, it's just a higher quality thing that is more worthy of being made, you know? Whereas the other thing's just more kind of, there's just finite time, you know? Yeah, that's a good point. If enough people want to watch your less produced stuff, they can watch this. Yes, this is, I don't have a problem doing this. But yeah, I may do another eventual VR follow-up once the dust is settled. I will say the Pimax 8KX might be the one. It's very expensive. It's as much as like a higher mid-range gaming system, but apparently it's the most comfortable one, like more comfortable than the Valve Index. It might be the highest resolution one out there. It has the extra wide field of vision, though I don't know. Apparently the distortion on the edges can mess with some people. Haven't heard about that. It might have some of the best screen, like, it sounds like, see, I'm kind of been holding out for one where I either want to go real cheap or else buy one where if I get this one, I'm set for like 10 years. And that one sounds like it could be, okay, somebody says it's not ready, maybe. Yeah, it's quite high. But someone says also the highest price. No, that's not the highest price. The other one's more expensive than that, but I think it might even be better than the ones that were more expensive. Like the was it XTAL? I think that one's over 2,000 or something. Oh yeah, somebody's saying about the GPU, no way we have the GPU power to run that. Well, fine, why can't you scale it up from a lower resolution then? I mean, you still have the so you might get rid of the screen door effect. But I don't know. Anyway, at some point, I hope to be able eventually to go to the sort of exhibit that the MRTV YouTube channel has, where you can just try on all these different headsets. So if I can get there, I'm gonna go there and just take notes on everything. So if I did something like that, then I might make a VR follow-up. But there are other video. Look, Freeman's Mind already is late. That's priority for me right at the moment. But there are other videos I'd rather make before that, and one of them is related to VR. I'll say it. It's not specifically focused on it, but it definitely relates to it, and that it'll show more where my mind's at in general. And I think it'll appeal to people who aren't that interested in VR also. But yeah, it may happen. But yeah, the VR video, that was just me sort of venting my frustration at this. That's the problem. My mind, basically, I would have liked the launch of VR to be more like it is now. And now you can say the technology wasn't there yet. I don't know. I mean, I think, okay, like you could have had the standard options, but then there was no like deluxe version back when VR launched. And I think there could have been, even if it was quite expensive, but maybe the cost might not have been worth it for people. But I mean, it might not have been worth it for the companies to make it. But I feel like now, oh yeah, and if you want to go cheap, if you want to go real cheap, the best option is probably the Lenovo or HP mixed reality headsets. But it sounds like the best of the cheap ones, like if I was going to get one right now, I'd probably get this one just because I'm calling it the best sit and wait option, whereas will be the Samsung Odyssey Plus, because it's probably not, well, it has better colors and like in some ways better panel quality. It has the same resolution as the Valve Index. But I mean, I think on Black Friday it was for sale for like $230. So it's a lot cheaper, but the subpixels aren't as good and the field of vision isn't quite as big. But however, since everything's changing with the technology, it would probably be the better option to sit and wait for something better to come along. And I admit, after having the DK2 and seeing how its software has treated me, I almost want to boycott. If I have any choice at all, I kind of want to boycott Oculus just because Facebook, man. I don't use Facebook, but I had to use their software to get that working. It is so hostile towards the end user, in my opinion. If everything works fine, then great. If you have one single problem or you want 1 ounce of control over what you have, it's some of the more hostile software I've used. So I just want to get away from that entirely. So actually, even Carmack is kind of backing down. Actually, okay, one of the future videos is absolutely related to AI. Carmack, he hasn't stepped down officially, but he's sort of staying on as like the chief technical officer, sort of more of a consultant position, and he says he's going to devote more of his time to like AI exploration, which honestly, that's where my mind's at too. I'm way more excited about, well, I'm super excited about VR, but I feel like we've accomplished a lot there. I'm seeing loads of potential in AI and machine learning for stuff we can accomplish. So, I mean, like, I think I mentioned ray tracing in the Trackmania episode. The ray tracing, yeah, it's nice, but it doesn't get me that. In the 90s, ray tracing would have got me a lot more excited. But now it's like, man, graphics are so good already. But the things we could maybe do in the future with AI and deep learning, that is way more interesting in my opinion. I mean, that's going to kick open a lot of doors. And one of my upcoming videos is 100% related to that. So, okay, so I should keep moving on. Let's see. Have you really driven your car into a lake or pond before? No. It's been a while since, I don't remember my exact words, but from the Test Drive 3 episode, yeah, I think that was like literally the third episode. If I said I did that, I meant it as a joke. Yeah, that was one where I kind of posed that to the audience. I think that was before I learned more about the internet when I made that, where I was just assuming, yeah, nobody's driven their car into a pond or like, yep, they sure have. I wasn't realizing that, oh, I'm addressing the internet. And at least tens of thousands of people watching the video. Yes, some of them sure have driven into water. So I meant that as just sort of an absurdist joke, but no, it wasn't a joke for people. So then it got kind of interesting from the discussion off of that. So let's see. Can I send you a civil protection donut shop painting? And do you know any similar strange universes like the Grickle one? Yeah, I guess you can send. Well, especially if it's a scan, sure you can send me one. I'm a little conflicted because I've been trying to stay off sweets, but at the same time, I created that in the video, and I did like how that looks. So sure, I mean, actually, one of my favorite pictures that people have made for me, like for the video. Well, actually, my two favorites might be. One was for one of the follow-up episodes, which is still coming at some point. Not this month though. Was where they did one for Zany Golf, and it shows like the flying hamburgers and stuff. And it looks so awesome. And another one, I think for Armed and Delirious. I really like how the cover art came out for that, for the title art. But yeah, I can like art a lot. It just depends. I talk about the sort of art I like in my birthday video, but again, those two I just mentioned from Game Dungeons, those I really liked how those look. They're slightly surreal, very scenic, Oh, and other strange universes. This is one of those I didn't read until just now, so I should have thought about that. Well, I mean, I've mentioned before, I love the Ian Flux world. From the cartoon, the movie wasn't that impressive. That's definitely a strange universe, but very awesome. I'm trying to think other surreal comedy universes, though. Yeah, that was not really comedy so much. Jeez. I'll have to think about it. If you guys want better answers, ask it again next time, I guess. Okay. It's been a lot, but with COPPA, there's been a lot of talk about YouTube competitors like BitChute and Dailymotion rising to fill the vacuum. Do you think any of these sites have a chance to go semi-mainstream, or is YouTube just too big to fail? Bar cataclysmic economic conditions. Well, the first part of the no, they're not too big to fail, but they're, well, I guess YouTube has to beat up a lot more users and creators, I think, before the others become more viable. I think in the demonetization video I did, I mentioned how at the time, I doubt these stats have changed much. So that was like a year or two ago, but at the time, YouTube's closest competitor for just, stored streaming video was this Chinese site, and YouTube was 20 times bigger than them. So they're as monopoly as it gets they're as de facto monopoly as it gets. So yes, you technically can upload your video to other places, but with that kind of market share, you're just crushing everyone else. So YouTube has to shed a lot of people before the others have a chance of competing, I think. I mean, some people might say, well, what about Twitch? Well, Twitch doesn't really store your videos that much, I don't think. So, I mean, Twitch is definitely competitive. Well, that's what you're for live video. I mean, that's what you're watching this on right now for the people not on YouTube. But yeah, it's I wouldn't bet on it, but who knows? You know, they need more to they need to shed more users. Yeah, do not underestimate monopoly power. You know, that's where I would put it on. Let's see. Oh shoot. Okay, sorry, I didn't get a chance to. Okay, maybe I can check this out real quick since the desktop's muted. Oh no, he links to a Wiki page. I'm not familiar with King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Sorry. I should have looked at this before I. Okay, well here, let me give a 10-second or so impression here. Maybe I can. Okay, live performance. What am I listening to? I'm hearing Twitch. Can I mute myself on Twitch? Okay, I can mute myself on Twitch. That must have been my. It's a mix. Well, I don't know. Some of it's not really my thing. Some of it sounds like I might want it as like a playlist for like an off-road racing game or something. I don't know. They're not jumping out at me though. This is like the super quick sample, just skimming through some concert thing on YouTube. So okay, so, whereas maybe I listened to the wrong track though. Some bands are like that where some of them are just some tracks are just the best, some of the best stuff you've ever heard, and the rest of the album it's like, I don't know. You know, it can vary. Did the jump on the portal in Freeman's mind, episode 61 and a half, create an alternate Freeman clone? Will we see him meet up with the regular Freeman at some time? Well, in general, I don't like spoiling too much about what's going to happen down the line in Freeman's mind because, again, it's like the prequel problem. And unless it's something that's not that big a deal. But I'll answer this one. I don't have any plans for that. I mean, I think of it as like, I think of it as like the alternate ending in Half-Life, you know, or the one where G-Man sends them on a suicide mission. It's like, well, is that canon too? What? You know, it just is, and I don't worry about it that much, you know? It's like that line from Mystery Science Theater 3000, you know, keep in mind this is just a show and you should really just relax. You know, that's kind of my attitude about it. So, have you heard much from the other Mind series creators? Seems to have completely disappeared, vanished with all hands. No, though a year or two ago, one of them, it was either, I always get them mixed up. It was either the Barney's Mind or the Shepherd, or it was either Shepherd's Mind or was it Adrian's Mind, the opposing force one. One of them asked if I could give a cameo clip for a wedding proposal he was doing. So I did that. I mentioned that it was tricky because I didn't want to put pressure on her because they were barely both big fans of Freeman's Mind. I didn't want to put pressure on her if she didn't want to marry him. So I ended up quoting the statistic about, how about half of all marriages end in divorce, and say that statistic's misleading because that factors in all marriages. So, Uncle Eddie, who's getting remarried for the 5th time, he offsets the average. Whereas the majority of people who get married for the first time stay married. So I thought they might find that encouraging. And then I said okay, cue the Princess Bride music or something, whatever. And then that was the end of the clip. And I sent that to him. So, yeah, that's an example of, that's a really good example of how statistics can be extremely misleading. You can draw the wrong conclusions even though the statistics themselves can be accurate. So yeah, let's see. How is that map of Revenant coming along? Did you get printed out? I hope you didn't let Chris forget. Yeah, here's what happened with that. Someone offered to help me, and I'll probably email them again. So we started getting some footage. So I was gonna feed them some footage and they could kind of place it into my map file. And what we found out pretty rapidly was the color didn't match. So it's like, even though I'm pretty sure I was using the exact same recording techniques I previously did, now the shades of red were off. So it was real obvious where I patched it in. So it was like, that baffled me, and I'm gonna have to go back and look at it and figure out just what happened, because then I'd either have to, maybe I could color correct all the existing stuff I've recorded so far, but man, that's a lot to redo. So that kind of stopped us in our tracks. I thought I did lossless compression on both of them, but I don't know what was going on. And I tried different recorders, and so I need to re-examine that and figure out just what the hell happened. But yeah, well, it'll happen. Don't worry. I'll release the map. At the very least, I'll release the full map file once it's done. But yeah, I'm gonna contact them about that printout. Don't worry. But yeah, I was gonna get some help on that. Oh yeah, okay. Here's another announcement I remembered halfway into the video. Right now, okay, I'm a fickle bastard on this. I keep going back and forth, like thinking, oh, I should get an editor, I shouldn't get. I noticed in like the Harry Buster episode, having an editor probably wouldn't have saved me much time and actually could have added to it. Because even if they did everything perfectly, part of the time was just going and getting all the other assets, like Beyond Good and Evil, the Colorado game footage, the like 2D article inserts. That stuff adds up. If somebody, so here, if you would like to, this is a smaller portion of the videos, so I don't know, this might be sort of a pro bono thing, but if you would like to help with this is kind of an ongoing thing for most of the videos, except Freeman's Mine. There's two things I'm looking for. One, Brian Shooter has done an amazing job helping me get like any sort of DOS or old console game footage. But we've always had issues when he tries to record like newer games, like with anti-aliasing on, that sort of thing. It tends to just stutter how he has it set up. I think OBS has some issue with frame pacing or something. If you have a reasonably high-end system and have a place you can upload a sizable portion of footage, and you have access to a lot of games, PC games, and you'd be interested in like recording some footage, I'll say like, hey, like I did the recording for the Beyond Good and Evil footage in the last episode. But say I could say, hey, can you get like the opening intro and maybe like some gameplay footage, or sometimes like I'll be thinking of the game and thinking of exactly what I want, but I don't always have the time to go in there. And to me, that's a bit wasted time for me to kind of go in there and, oh yeah, that's a great comment there. We'll get to it in a second. It's not as a great use of my time to be going in and like replaying that portion when anybody could do that. And I'd rather just, grind out more of the video that the portion I have to do. So if you'd be up for that, like you have a high-end system, plenty of storage and place to upload it. And hey, the good news is you only need to aim for 1080, 30 frames a second. However, I would want it very smooth. So good frame, and I might want anti-aliasing. And I could tell you how to do it, enable it. And that could mean downsampling for some games. But like, let's say I want footage from like Destiny 2 or something. I'd say, yeah, here, find it, go to this map and record that. Or there's another game. If you'd be interested in that, somebody's saying gotta know the bit rate too. High bit rate, but sometimes I only need like 30 seconds worth or like a minute worth or something. So, but yeah, high bit rate. But I could use somebody to help with that. Something else I wouldn't mind help with would be, in a lot of videos, I'll show news articles like related to like what I'm talking about. Well, I usually do I've had someone help me with this, but he's sometimes busy. I almost always clean up those. What I mean is, if you go to a news site and you just take a screenshot, you're gonna have like 10 ads. There's gonna be all this other banner stuff saying, here, check out our other sections, sports, tech, entertainment. There's gonna be some big banner across the top. There's gonna be like some link to comments, Twitch, enter our feed, RSS, and I'm thinking all that stuff is highly distracting. Whereas I just like to go in there, just get the site, get the source, you know, where this was made. I mean, where this article came from. Get the author, get the date and the title, and then just show a portion of the article. And just Photoshop over everything else. You don't have to have Photoshop, just some image editor. So if you would want to help with that, I could just say, here, fine. Here's this article, here. Just clean these up. And it's something that's easy and simple, but it does take time. So, oh yeah, and the question, the comment I liked was saying, the comments are saying it's just a Morhun clone, Ross, no big deal, great. That doesn't explain the big mystery about why the game exists. Yeah, for Harry Buster? Okay, fine, they wanted to make a Morhun clone. Why did T-Mobile decide that's a market they want to break into and make it about the stock market? Like, okay, I could even see T-Mobile thinking, okay, maybe we can make a quick buck here. Why the stock market then? You know, why not just a more kid-friendly theme? You know. But yeah, if you want to help with those things, send me an email, rosswscott@gmail.com. Again, I'm so far behind in emails. I apologize to anyone who's messaged me and you're still waiting on a reply. I'm gonna get to it. That might turn into like this New Year's resolution for me. Just get on top of just all of them that I really should respond to. So apparently I mispronounced it. More hun. Okay. But yeah, those are two kind of ongoing things. I'll for sure I'll put you in the credits of any video you help me out with that. But that might be more of a pro bono thing. But if you're interested, yeah, let me know. And then for DOS games, I mean, again, Brian's done an awesome job, but say he's too busy. DOS is easy because usually I'm using DOSBox and that has a built-in recorder. So that's, and it does it in lossless RGB, I think, so. Okay, so what's your least favorite chapter of the original Half-Life and why is it residue processing? I stopped to think about it and I realized it's not residue processing. It's the one with the, whatever it's called, the tentacles that go bang, 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 bang. Like, okay, that was awesome the first time. Like, you know, you see it skewers the guard or it skewers the scientist, kills the guard. Okay, I could see wanting to pass through that once, but then you have to backtrack. And then when I first played the game, the stealth mechanics weren't entirely clear to me. Like, okay, does it not go for you if you're on the ladder? Because, you know, realistically, that whole thing's metal. It should be detecting all your blast pit. Everybody's saying blast. It should be detecting all of your vibrations. And I think I didn't realize you had to throw a grenade originally. It just seems sort of haphazard for you. But yeah, and when I started playing Black Mesa to see through it, that's where I gave up. And I realized, yeah, that's definitely my least favorite part of the game. I mean, it's awesome seeing it first, but I mean, I'd rather seeing it drawn out is what I didn't like. So if you saw that, and let's say you had to sneak by that room and then activating the jet engine was elsewhere, and if you tried to enter that any other way, it'd just be suicide. Well, I'd be fine with that, but just having to sneak past that, I didn't like that. So yeah, that's my least favorite part. I don't find residue processing that annoying, but. And I want to say my second least favorite part is being shoved back down underground after finally making it to the surface, but then you're bombed and everything. But I know, I guess there were other parts. Wasn't there some stuff with mines? I remember that being kind of annoying too. So it's been a while since I played it. I haven't played it since the Freeman's Mind episode, so. Ross, so the worst could happen to your channel. Have you ever thought of YouTube alternative like BitChute? Yeah, I mean, it's an option. Somebody saying PureTube. It's an option, but I kind of want to see where the... I'm fortunate enough to not be on the firing line, like unlike people talking about Legos, because, you know, they're the scourge of humanity here, apparently. I kind of want to see where they go. I don't really want to be the first in line because here's the thing. I've played this game before. I remember in the past, bunch of people, even back when I was with that guy with the glasses, everybody was saying, you gotta put stuff on blip.tv. You know, it's gotta go on blip.tv, so fine. I went through all this extra effort to put it up there, made separate thumbnails, descriptions, put up all the videos, and then within like a couple months, Disney buys them out, all the revenue dries up, and then they shut it down. So, yeah, BitChute will probably last longer than that, but I don't really want to be an early adopter on this stuff. I'd rather let other people take the plunge on it. I mean, I'm sorry. I think it really sucks that people making kid-friendly videos have, again, they're the first in line at the firing squad. But I think they'll probably find something. So we'll see. I mean, that's creating a market for sure. Or maybe not. If we want to get cynical, they might find that that even with the pay cut, they're still earning more on YouTube with the demonetization. Well, not severely reduced monetization. And then you'll just have a handful of people surviving. So who knows? Oh shoot, this is another question I should have read earlier. What's the worst case of buyer's remorse you ever had? Not including renter's remorse. Well, renter's remorse has always been a mixed bag because as bad as the apartments have been in the past, I was able to work there, and that would have been the worst. If I got there and then like day one I'm recording, people are banging on my door and they don't want me there, that would have been the worst. But that hasn't happened. I've been very lucky on that. Worst case of buyer's remorse. I don't know. I tend to go either be highly researched if it's something more expensive, or else go real cheap on something. The worst case. Well, this probably isn't the worst case, but I remember I really was liking that peripheral from like early 2000s called the Claw, which is like a sort of a keypad replacement. And I love the thing and was seeing all kinds of potential with it, and then it broke after 2 weeks. So yeah, that gives you some buyer's remorse on that. That made me cynical towards peripherals in general, actually. Or towards innovative peripherals. Man, okay, just to tie this. Okay, here another point I was undecided about bringing up. I want to say, in the last day game news, the one about France versus Valve. Look, I still think there's legit arguments on both sides, whether you think people should be entitled to resell your game digitally or not. But you are just not going to win on the argument about how, look, not being able to resell your games come out cheaper. Oh my God, do they come out cheaper. I bought a lot of games this Black Friday, and I looked at my average, and these were all what I consider what I would call like full meat games. Like, you know, these are games that probably would have been like $40, $60 new. I picked up The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. I think probably the most, okay, but like it's the most expensive game I got. I think it was Vermintide 2 for like a little under $7.50. My average, I tallied up, my average was $2.59 for the game. And these are not just shovelware stuff. Like I got one, like, I have to look at the list, like Caligo was one of them that's pretty cheap. Yeah, Vanishing of Ethan Carter, I think I got about $2.59, although I paid the extra $1.30 to have VR support for it. So it's like, they're so cheap. If you wait a couple years after the games come out and then get them on sales, it's like, my God. I mean, it's just so incredibly cheap. I mean, there's a few games that never dip below like $10 once you wait, but they're kind of the exception. I mean, yeah, I was tempted to get Quantum Break, but that was like, that's $9, and so I think I'll wait. I think it could come down some more. It's like, again, if you still think, again, there are legitimate reasons for being able to want to resell your games, but good God, the industry has delivered on being able to get really cheap games. Yeah, I think I got the new Carmageddon for like it was under $5, I remember. So it was just, it's so cheap now to be PC Gamer. Like, it's never been better on that. So even if I have buyer's remorse about some of these, well, oh man, I'm down those $2 or $3. If only I had known. It's like, man, I can take the risk on it for some of these. Man, there's some that came to like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, for some of them, and yeah. I mean, put it like this: I don't think I got one game that had like a negative rating on Steam. I got a few that I'm very curious about that got mixed ratings, because that can mean a lot of things. But yeah, again, these were not shovelware. These were not. Yeah, put it like this: I want to say 90 to 95% of the games I got were on the list. So those are the kinds of games that were on there. Yeah, somebody's saying Orange Box is like $2 or $5. So, I mean, or $5 or something. Man, it's... Yeah, I got some cheap ones on GOG too. Usually they're a little pricier, but they were matching them for some of the games this time. I mean, I'm just blown away. But yeah, so that was one where if you're really cheap, like, you just wait till stuff's cheap. If you're patient and you're cheap, there's no contest, man. There's just no contest to that. Games are cheaper. And I think more money goes to the developer that way. So, but I get it. It's not that the other side's invalid, but they're not going to win on. Now, if you're only buying brand new games, okay, maybe you can go neck to neck with not being able to resell your game, because if you buy a game brand new, like a physical copy, you play it, then you sell it, yeah, you're going to come out ahead. But not compared to waiting 4 years, So, buyer's remorse. Geez, I'm trying to think. Because I would have to spend more on it, and I would have to gotten burned for something to have buyer's remorse on. I mean, there was a monitor I returned because I didn't like the color on it. I don't know. I tend to be extremely wary shopper, guys. Like, if it's something more expensive, I just research the living hell out of it. And then otherwise, it tends to be real cheap to the point where it's not such a tragedy if it ends up being not so good. I'm like looking around for examples of buyer's remorse, and I'm not seeing them. Sorry, I guess I get that's a hard question for me. I tend to be extremely careful with my purchases, so. Yeah, somebody's mentioned in the chat they got Portal 1 and 2 for 99 cents. Yeah, there was other stuff. I almost want to pull up the list of what I bought that's on an email, but I don't want to rub that in. But hey, maybe there's probably going to be another sale coming up for Christmas, on various places. Oh yeah, I still got like a Sonic pack for $10. So that would be more, but that was for like several games that I wanted to get. So for one of the bundles. Yeah, that one was from Humble Bundle. That one might still be going, actually. But yeah, so you might have another chance this month. Though usually Black Friday is like one of the best ones. That and the summer sales can be some of the best ones. But yeah, it's just... It's I don't know how... I was in mixed feelings about this because on one hand, I rejoice that it's never been better for the gamer as far as like what you can get for your money. But on the other hand, I'm just wondering, like, how do these developers survive? I mean, I guess this is stuff that in the past they would have been getting no money by now anyway. So this tiny trickle is still worth it to them because they got most of their money up front from, you know, buying within the first couple weeks or months or that sort of thing. So, have you looked into Death Stranding at all? Maybe a game you're interested in. I saw a trailer way back when I've been sort of avoiding it because I don't want to have like the story spoiled for it. And I heard like the story got leaked actually even before it came out. That's one of those where I might try once it gets super cheap, you know. It's the sort of thing where it might want to weird me out a little too much, but but it has this cool sci-fi vibe to it, so sure, I might try it out. But I think it's coming out next year for PC, but so probably a few years down the line, it'll be more in my price range. But yeah, again, for one game, I think $750 was the highest I got this year, and I got dozens of games this year. That's how my spending habits work for games. I'm like it's like I buy just nothing for most of the year, except I'll make these lists, and then when there's a big sale, I just blitzkrieg it, you know. So. But yeah, I'm sort of intentionally staying dark on Death Stranding because I tend to like stuff like that more if I'm going in blind, and I think I might like it. I guess I can ask fans though, how depressing a game is it? Because I'm not really into stuff that's super depressing. That's not the same as dark. You can have stuff that's extremely dark, but they're not trying to be depressing. But if it's real depressing, I might want to pass or just watch some clips of it or something. That's just not the sort of games I'm into, really. The imagery from it looked like it could kind of go either way with that. So I'm just saying it's both depressing and uplifting. Yeah, I don't know then. We'll see. It's Japanese anime depressing, but just for a few seconds every half hour. Well, maybe we could. Because again, Silent Hill series, that has depressing stuff, but it's also awesome. I mean, it's like it's not the whole point. It feels more like you're getting this kind of Alice in Wonderland experience from Silent Hill, which is that. Somebody's saying it's badly written, has a lot of cringe dialogue, not written by an actual human being. Uh-oh. Well, it sounds like it's controversial then. So, well, that can go either way, you know. I wanted to send you a Steam controller, but the deal expired as I was looking forward to a forwarding address of yours. People want to send you letters or packages. What address should they put in the to field? Well, I don't have a lot of space, and I'm not sure if I'd really use the Steam controller that much because, I mean, maybe. Like what sorts of games is the Steam controller best for? Although I think they're discontinuing. Yeah, and they're discontinuing it. So it's like, I don't know if I want to. The fact that they're discontinuing it makes me not want to do it more because even if it lasts a long time, I don't know if I want to get too attached to it because then what if that one breaks? Well, then you're stuck on this. This is the same reason I try not to use like legacy hardware for PC stuff because what if it's really good? What if this is essential for me? Then it breaks, you know? I kind of don't want that attachment, but I mean, I like gamepads for kind of 2D platformers or stuff that's like really, I tend to hate thumbsticks though. So, you know, when I say gamepad, it's something that like something the Super Nintendo could have handled, the Super Nintendo controller could have handled just fine, you know, those kinds of games. Beyond that, I guess I use mouse and keyboard for kind of more control, though I'd be open to the idea of more kind of what Johnny Mnemonic or Minority Report style controls where you know, move over there, okay, grab these units, send them there, you know, or do this to aim or something like that. I could be open to that, though. It depends on how good the implementation is. But I don't have an address set up for people to send me random stuff, unfortunately. I probably have to pay for an additional P.O. box, which I'm not sure how it works in Poland. And again, I have finite space. We kind of don't even have enough space for everything here as it is. So I mean, email me, I guess, if you want to send me something first. But it's one of the nice things about everything being digital is that you can have a whole lot of stuff without it taking up much space. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's I have a lot of things. I really just need more time. But I guess that's part of the reason Freeman's Mind is late too, is because my impulse is to get those one-off videos out of the way, so then that frees up more time to pace with other things. So it's like, oh, I just need to get these out of the way, and then hope I don't have some burning desire to make another new video in the meantime when I should be doing more Game Dungeon or Freeman's Mind. So. Oh yeah, this one came up. Are you aware of the situation with GameTron Evolution on Steam? Yeah, for those that don't know, they used Secure ROM, DRM, and Disney decided they didn't want to license it anymore, and they didn't patch it out. So they had no end of life plan, and now the game's, I think it's completely unplayable. Yeah, well, somebody's saying cracks are an option. I think I read that one never got cracked. So only old console versions or ones of existing activated installs are the only way to play it now. Yeah, this isn't the... Yeah, my first impulse was like, wait a minute. I was surprised this was even news because this kind of crap happens all the time. But then I realized if it doesn't have a crack, then that might be unusual then, because look, for sure, didn't this already happen with Games for Windows Live? I mean, like, and that had a bunch of titles on it. Now, a lot of companies came in afterwards and fixed it, but not all of them did. However, you were able to run those games with cracks because they were made for it. I guess no one made it for Tron Evolution, though I guess the news might spur interest in that. Yeah, so I guess, in my opinion, this isn't the worst scenario. However, this is exactly the sort of issue where I would really love it if somebody took this to court, because this could pave the way for, hey, you released a game, you intentionally shut down the game, or you made it, or rather, the company's actions intentionally made it impossible for the customer to continue playing their game. It's not like they dropped support. They just dropped support. They made it impossible. Look, I'm gonna try and keep pushing ahead on the trying to get action taken in France and maybe Australia against this legally. I still have more I need to do on that. Then gonna try to take care of that this month too. So this might be a good sort of like trigger thing where you have to, although knowing my luck, that would go to court, and even if it survived, they would find a way to define it so this only applies to, this doesn't apply to games as, though this really is games as a service. What they're doing is when, so that's the thing, a lot of cracks make it so that games cease to be games as a service. Where, but if there's no crack, then, it's still the same thing. You gotta, it's dead as soon as you run it. But no, okay, no, this is sort of in the twilight area, because if you already had an activated copy, that still runs. However, I'm not sure there's any way to back that up aside from like imaging your whole system. So yeah, this one was a little hazier, but yeah, I mean, this stuff, I listened to Jim Sterling's take on it. I was a little disappointed in his take on it because he tends to take he didn't. I don't think he said it overtly, but he sort of took like, oh, this is inevitable. I'm like, no, my God. If anything, my research showed this is untested legally. This is not inevitable. And he keeps saying you're buying access to it. Okay, fine. That's what the terms of service say. What does the law in those countries say you are purchasing? That's what matters. So I feel like he got a little tripped up there. And I look, there's not cause for despair yet, guys. That's the thing. The reason this is untested is because companies do not want this issue coming to light because there's a chance it could backfire on them. So it's it's more the same, though this is a slightly different flavor. But yeah, this is like the number one thing I'm trying to stop in games, just the destruction of games. So with no possibility of preservation. Okay. Something about encountering sentient alien life. Chances of them being humanoid are extremely slim. Well, maybe. It probably depends on the atmosphere and the gravitation. It's hard to say. I don't know. You probably need a biologist to tell you what are the most likely life forms for X conditions. Like if you had a lower gravity, what's more likely to form? Higher gravity, if you had different chemical bases in the atmosphere, that sort of thing. We could probably take some educated guesses. I mean, okay. What are your opinions regarding the ethics of sleeping with aliens? That's something of one of those things I'm just not going to worry about it. On multiple levels. So yeah, you can tell what's on some people's minds by reading this. That's one that just was never even on my radar until the questions. Yeah, how did you come about Harry Buster for the next question? Through scouring through abandonware, just seeing what was worth backing up. I was thinking, oh, this is. I just clicked on it, and then I looked at an intro video. I was like, wait, what? It says a sing-along? Like it just baffled me right from the get-go. So. How much longer do you think YouTube will last? I have no idea. Probably a long time. Again, do not. Yeah, okay, here's the answer. I want to say in my time, unless they've been obviously displaced by technology that makes them almost irrelevant, I'm not sure I've seen any monopolies fall. I mean, maybe some people can think of ones that I'm not remembering because, I mean, when's the last time we had like a serious antitrust case? I mean, I know there was against Microsoft in the 90s, which I kind of think they should have been broken up, but that's another topic. But like when Google came along, and Microsoft was late to the party on internet adoption, and that created an opening for a lot of people, and then that they sort of. Yeah. When's the last time we saw a monopoly fall that wasn't due to just technological being surpassed? Because I'm thinking, like, didn't Kodak go bankrupt, or you have like Blockbuster? Those were monopolies, though. Those were major corporations. But those were cases where, yeah, it was them kind of not being able to keep up with the technology curve. Or like GameSpot's probably going to go extinct at some point. No, GameStop. I'm sorry, GameStop. I don't know, because YouTube, again, I think they're not turning a profit, so even with all these kind of, at least that's my understanding. If they are, then I don't know what they're doing, but it's all this sort of anti-creator, anti-viewer measures that they're taking that might still work out to them and for them in the long term with profits, because then they can just focus on becoming the new old media, and there's a lot of money to be made there, and then they have to go somewhere else for the long tail content. So I'm well, I don't know. I mean, it probably many years. Although, if we have another Great Depression style situation, then who knows what'll happen. But yeah, I have no idea. Ross, I've begun picking up on your mannerisms and general pattern of speaking by complete accident. How do I stop this? Sorry. I guess you probably shouldn't be watching these, but I guess your best chance is to find someone else that you'd rather be more like, and then watch more footage of them or person hang around them more. Yeah, this is such a minor thing, but I used to sign my name differently. And then I saw another way of signing it. I was thinking, yeah, I like how that R looks a lot better. So I intentionally changed the way I signed my name, and I like that better. So you can change some, that's a really tiny aspect of my personality, but you can, so I used to do it more like a standard, like cursive R, but I think I got inspired by like how the D was signed for Dracula, like from Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's like, oh yeah, I should do that over the top. That looks a lot cooler. So now I signed my name like that for the R. So yeah, just pick somebody else to emulate. You'd rather emulate more. Okay, a general goodwill message, and then something about okay. Oh yeah, they're recommending some controller. I think I'm probably not. See, I'm probably fine with like any sort of cheap controller. I don't. I kind of prefer wired ones anyway. I know it has a wired option, but then that's more weight in the controller for the wireless hardware, and then the cord can come loose, or So I don't really like the wireless wired hybrid stuff for like mice or keyboards. So. Ross, do you have any favorite PlayStation 1 games? Well, I mean, I think the easy answer would be Symphony of the Night. I mean, Castlevania, I mean, geez, that's such a great game. But played Silent Hill 1. That's pretty good. I kind of want to catch up on some old PlayStation ones, especially like driving games or racing ones. A lot of the sort of people. A lot of the sort of classics for that are like JRPGs, which tend to have turn-based combat, so that's not going to be my thing so much. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some other titles on PlayStation 1. Okay, someone's saying Medieval is great. I mean, you can look into that. That one looked a little goofier than what I was after. I mean, I can like goofy, it just depends. But, oh, somebody's saying there's extra lore in the PlayStation version of Diablo. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid. I'm not big into stealth games. I've watched the complete playthrough of Metal Gear Solid. So that's kind of what I do if I'm interested in the story, but the gameplay isn't my thing. So, let's see, what are some others? I mean, some of those ended up coming to PC also, so these have to be like exclusive. Because I mean, I've played stuff like Shadow Man and what were some other? Okay, no, Trick Style was Dreamcast, not PlayStation, or some of the early Legacy of Kain games. Those also came to PC. Yeah, okay, so those are a few, but yeah, I probably want to catch up on like some driving games. Like, yeah, I think wasn't the original Gran Turismo for PlayStation, or was that PS2? But there's some others. I think geez, something with an R, like Red Line Racer, Ridge Racer, or something like that. Okay, Parasite Eve. Okay, I didn't know that was turn-based, so maybe I'll watch a playthrough of Parasite Eve then. But yeah, again, Resident Evil is another one that came out for for PC also. So let's see. Is there some societal issue that you care about but haven't talked about yet in any of your videos? Maybe. I mean, I try not to get too dark on them because I figured I'd rather people like to be able to just come here and be, just have something enjoyable to watch. I mean, the big ones for me are just, like let's not destroy the ecosystem. Try to have basic needs of as many people as possible met. Figure out a way to have civilization run sustainably. Let's see what. I mean, those are kind of the core things, and then other things sort of branch out from that. Would you consider any future VR Half-Life games in Freeman's mind? Well, I guess so. I mean, especially if Freeman's in it, I guess I feel kind of conscripted. Do you have any ideas on how would you record Half-Life Alyx for Alyx's mind? Well, you might have some, if you were going to do that, you might have some, I'm sure there's some tools to record the footage from VR. And then I think you can apply, I have no idea what software does it. I would be surprised if you couldn't apply some filter to correct the distortion for the average viewer. So you're gonna need the distortion for VR, but you wanna undo that if you're putting it into a 2D image to have everything have the correct perspective. And then you might also wanna be more level than you would be while you're recording. So knowing that somebody's gonna watch this, you gotta treat yourself more like a cameraman rather than just how you normally act so you don't make people sick. And even then, on top of that, you might wanna look into some smoothing software. They can do some impressive stuff now with like trying to keep it level. So if you're kind of shaking it around like this, the software can actually get things surprisingly level, surprisingly steady. You'd probably want something like that if you were gonna make it for, like, record it for people to watch it. Let's see. Have you found anyone who's defeated you in combat yet? No, but I haven't been looking. That's not a. I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure that's not a challenge. I mean, my biggest advantage is speed, but that's gonna decline as I get older anyway. So speed and endurance, but yeah, that's not one of my goals. I'm not sitting here thinking if only someone could defeat me in combat. Yeah, I'm not some bored god who's seeking that out. So. Ross, what's your favorite unknown game? Well, geez, I don't know. I'll find out. It's probably either on the list and I haven't tried it yet, or I probably covered it already on Game Dungeon. Okay, we're getting the food question, so I'll take that as a sign to start picking and choosing. Any tips on how to make canned beans taste better? Also, what are your favorite low-budget meals? Well, I don't want to get too much into food. I'm finding I'm allergic to like a ridiculous amount of things here. Like my skin will literally start flaking and turn red. It's driving me crazy. They showed up in my blood test that I'm heavily allergic to something, but then I went and they did all these skin prick tests and like turned out negative for everything. So all I can figure is my conspiracy theory on that is they're putting something, there's something deep in the food chain, like maybe a pesticide or an herbicide or something that I'm allergic to, and they're using that for just everything. And I don't know what to do. I mean, yeah, my meal of beans has actually been sabotaged because of that, because part of that was I would add tortilla chips, and I haven't found one brand of tortilla chips now that doesn't happen to it. I hate it. So, but yeah, before that happened, I would add onions and, lettuce, tortilla chips, and just cook the beans and the onions and add the rest. So I need to find a new staple meal actually that requires a minimum of cooking because that's not how I want to spend my time is on cooking. Okay, we're getting obscure games questions. Look, part of the games list is so you can see some of the stuff I'm looking at, because there's a lot on there that's not super popular, Question, how much will we have to donate to get you a weekend off? Oh, because I didn't have the time off. Well, okay, here's the thing about taking time off. I don't want to do it like that. It's more like I don't want everyone to just go away from donations if I were to take a little bit of time off and then come back. Plus, I mean, look, I think the last thing Freeman's Mind fans want to hear from me at this point is me taking some time off. So let me get ahead a little bit, then I'll think about it. I mean, yeah. Look, I have some cool stuff coming out. See, part of this is, look, if I don't have to do all-nighters, then that's a lot better. I really tried for the Halloween ones, but my ambition got the better of me. But look, besides, once the economy crashes, I'll be glad I did all this, So I'll have more time to take off then. Do you have any personal stories about some of the Bobs you've had to work with in the past? It's probably referring to Phantasmagoria. Not really pleasant ones. They're just sort of one or two sort of petty people. Probably some more interest. Probably my favorite story wasn't for people that are jerks. They're just, I think I've told this one where, okay, so I'll run through it quickly. When I had a part-time computer repair job in high school, when EverQuest started infecting some of the other people working there, and they were talking to me about it, and I was like, oh, this sounds neat. And then the acting manager there, not the owner, at one point, some of the techs actually they shared a apartment, the same place. It was a giant apartment. They had 5 people living there. So they had this sort of land set up too. And one tech came in tired, but he was in good spirits and all he was talking about was EverQuest. And he was saying that, he was saying, it's fun, but he's come 3 or 4 in the morning. It's like, man, I gotta go to bed. I gotta go to work tomorrow. But he was saying Isaac, he was the manager. No, he was still going at it when I went to bed. When I got up, he's still going for. And I told him, oh yeah, he's not here. He's like, oh, he's not here. He called in sick. He's there playing EverQuest. And apparently this was the first sick day he had taken in years. To play EverQuest. And then later, I think not that day, but the next week or something, they just decided, you know what, we're just gonna close the store early, a few hours, so they could go to the Minotaur caves. It says it'll be an experience. And then later, the actual owner, I guess if this is Phantasmagoria, the guy who got off sick would be Tom, and the owner would be Paul Warner. He came, and then later he was talking to me about EverQuest here. Another one was talking up to me because I didn't have it. I wasn't going to pay a monthly fee, And then the owner overhears them. He's like, no, shut up. I'm not losing another employee to EverCrack. Ross, don't listen to him. So those are pretty good memories of watching the EverQuest infection spread among the shop there. I enjoyed that. That was a pretty fun job. I was working minimum wage then, so that was, I guess, what was minimum wage late night? It's $5.25 or something, but it made up for it for how laid back the atmosphere was. So. Okay, question about COPPA. We finally swallow your pride and open a Patreon. No, it's not about pride. It's about It's about what makes the most sense. You know, it's well, watch the Begathon video that describes it. I mean, basically, I make more money not having to pay the Patreon fees, and I already had the donation thing set up anyway. And plus, say you like the videos and you want to donate $1 or $2, and that's it. You don't want to do this monthly thing because that's going to weigh down. Fine, you can do that. Whereas I don't think you can with Patreon. You have to sign up, do the fee, and then cancel it, or you know. So, I mean, I'll do it if I might do it eventually, but yeah, because some people don't like PayPal, which I understand. But it's I don't know. Maybe I'll set up a stealth page. I don't know. It seems so money grabby to do it like that and have the donation page. So. I don't know. I really try to err on the side of caution with that stuff. Look, I'll tell you guys right now, I'm happy with how it came out because I gave it just all my full effort, but that was my least favorite video to make, the Begathon video, because I was just, it just goes against all my instincts, you know, to make something like that and to put the burden on you guys. So oh, hey, I remembered a question I think I accidentally skipped in the last one, but I thought, oh yeah, it's not a bad question. People were asking if I play a character in Game Dungeon or if that's me. I want to say, no, that's definitely me. It's just, that's a coherent version of me in Game Dungeon. The reality is, I'm more, my brain's all over the place, you know, like a dog being distracted by things. And Game Dungeon is sort of a composed reenactment of my thoughts. So it's much more coherent. But yeah, I can't think of much where, no, I'm not like that at all. No, it's pretty much my thoughts in Game Dungeon. So Freeman's Mind, I'm playing a character. Freeman's Mind, I'm playing a character. So, and same for Civil Protection, you know. Would you join the Civil Protection or the Rebels if the Combine invasion actually happened? I need more information. I'd probably be. I don't know. I mean, you got to look at odds for success of rebellion because yeah, I guess I'm having trouble thinking that the Combine would be so effective to rule Earth in 7 hours, yet they just can't get these splinter cells of rebels, and it's, yeah, these holdouts are still gonna live a long time and not get decimated, and I don't know, I think it's like you have no choice, you know? But, well, it's like in the Veil of Darkness episode, you know, the daughters can't believe how her father just gave up her to the head vampire. It's like, well, what options did he have, really? I mean, look, that elder vampire, he had that valley locked up pretty tight. You know, it's like he's getting there either way. It's just a question: are you going down with are you going to be turned into a tree in the process? That seemed like the main the main question there. You know. He didn't want to. He didn't want to give her up, so. Okay. What's the first thing? Oh, this is a great question. What's the first thing you would do if you had all the money in the world? I guess I'd try to, like, vastly overhaul our, geez. Well, okay, I'd probably get a symposium together of people smarter than me. My goal would be to take us to a point of, yeah, I guess, yeah, get a symposium together of people smarter than me, explain my goal, and we'd figure out the best way to achieve it. My goals would be to try to achieve, you know, try to achieve balance with the ecosystem, so we're not just gonna eradicate it. Try and get as many people have basic needs as possible, you know, sustainably long term. And well, there's another one of those. Geez, what was the other? I probably mentioned it earlier now. Oh yeah, and try to I want to be super clear because this is the internet, try to non-lethally reduce the population, so to prevent more births, that sort of thing. Because I'm obvious non-lethal population reduction. Because that we're just way too overextended. And I think those would be my basic needs. I mean, like food, shelter, it's just figure it out. And, get people you could probably get experts of various fields and maybe have like that's what different goals, but that's kind of how the founding of the United States worked. I mean, there was a lot of sessions and discussion about how we were going to form the country. It wasn't just like, okay, let's do it. It's like, no, it's like, it just barely passed as it is. And like at first you had the Articles of Confederation that it was becoming clear that wasn't going to cut it. So it had too many problems. So I'd want that. However, I think there's some, if I'm the person, it's with lots of wealth, you have lots of power, even if it's not officially state power. You can influence things at just an incredible level. So I would start off like getting the people who like sincerely can spell out how these steps will lead to that. It's like, okay, they realize that, okay, we have the confines of our current system. What's the best way to kind of affect this change in the long term? Like, hey, maybe it is through political process, or maybe it's just by starting this sort of colony and having that grow outward to the point where that becomes the most attractive option. And there's sort of a natural migration to that. Yeah, so I want like sociologists, ecologists, lots of people with a lot of, honestly, probably propagandists too, or behavioral psychologists, people who really understand like what's happening on a mass level for like how people are because this may sound awful in the sense that, oh yeah, I'm trying to manipulate people. I'm also trying to combat existing manipulation. That would be the other thing. I mean, it's the sort of thing where, I believe the majority of people actually want things that are kind of good for the majority of people most of the time. But there's all sorts of interference that can be run to steer us in other directions. So, yeah, I'm not smart enough to have all the answers to that, but I am smart enough to realize there are people smarter than me that know more about what should be done, Okay, see, I respectfully agree with Zabius in the comments there. Space colonization will solve overpopulation. It's not fantasy. We'll all be surprised how fast it happens in the next few decades. Okay, the nicest reply I can give to that is, okay, I would like to focus on the backup plan in case that turns out to just not be true for some reason, okay? Yeah, I respectfully disagree on that. I'm not sure you'd have... You could still present ideas, but I'm not sure you'd have a front row seat at the discussion if that's... Unless you can really spell things out how, like... I guess the thing is, in order for that to be true, I have to have misconceptions, not just about one or two things, but hundreds of things for that to be true, okay? But okay, yeah, but yeah, that's probably where when I mentioned in the Trackmania Canyon episode, if I was a billionaire, I would not stay a billionaire for long. That's because, actually, there's a good quote on one of the items from Path of Exile. It's like, what was it? Wealth unspent is wealth wasted, and yeah. I mean, the main reason you want wealth, for most people, is security, because, okay, things are fine now, but what if you lose your job? Or, what if, cost of living goes way up? Well, you want that cushion, But after a point, there's no point to it. It's just psychological then. So, the way you want to use your money on something, to, I mean, yeah, there is reason to have a certain level of wealth to the point where you're always to have security, basically. But beyond that, why hold on to it forever? That's just why be. Even Scrooge McDuck is out having adventures, but he doesn't really need that vault worth of gold if he could be doing something else with it, you know? So, yeah, see, somebody's saying if they're a billionaire, I want to do a thing. I would keep paying the rent and I would buy the same groceries. I don't have to work anymore. Well, then there's no point to you being a billionaire. Yeah, like, yeah, okay. I think we're going to have all sorts of events that could change this dynamic. But let's say right now, how wealthy would you need to be to just live like, middle class lifestyle and just never work again? I think you could probably get away with that for under 10 million. I think maybe. I mean, it depends. If you're counting investing, you could probably get a lot lower. However, if there was like a massive stock market crash, then that may not work out. But yeah, but no, billionaire. Look, actually, we were having this discussion, and when I did the streaming video, like I was playing Castlevania, and the character had 60,000 pieces of gold, and we were figuring out like how wealthy he was, and we figured out like I think even under the most optimistic scenario, he was still Jeff Bezos was still. It was either hundreds or 1,000 times more wealthy than he was. So it's like you can have enough money to never work again and just do whatever you want almost and still be hundreds to thousands of times poorer than a billionaire. So it's, if you're a billionaire, you need to be doing something with it. I mean, so. Okay, somebody's saying $86,400 a year is the exact amount to be perfectly happy and not worry about. It probably depends where you live. You could probably be perfectly happy for a lot less than that. But yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I could see needing that level for like a major city. But I mean, you can have ambitions. Like, I mean, if I had wealth, I'd probably want more space. And then, look, at some point, I'd love to have like a VR gym or something like that, or 360 treadmill. I mean, I've wanted a couple of luxuries, but not that many. Or some person might really love cars and they want to spend, but geez, it's like billionaire is so much more than what you could do without indulging just complete fantasy level things. Well, again, it's like the Trackmania Canyon episode. Okay, you're a billionaire and you want to set up that level of racing course? Yeah, maybe that's what it takes. Have dozens of courses out in the Grand Canyon where you're wrecking cars every day. Yeah, that might take $1 billion. So, okay, I should keep moving on. Who would win in a fight, Bob Ross or Mr. Rogers? Easy, Bob Ross. He's an ex-Marine. Well, I mean, late Marine, but yeah. I mean, neither one of them would want the fight, but if push came to shove, Bob Ross would know how to take Mr. Rogers down. Okay. Or was he a Marine? Okay, he was either ex-Marine or ex-Army. I forgot. But either way, like they don't know hand-to-hand combat, So, yeah, he used to be a drill sergeant, Bob Ross. Okay, Bob, I'm stand corrected. Bob Ross is in the Air Force. Same. Okay, so maybe not as hardcore as Marines, but same difference. He's a drill sergeant in the Air Force. He knows how to take people down. So, or he knew how to. Okay, I should skip through more questions. I'm going to skip the one about hemorrhoids. I don't know. Although I think there's some Jerky Boy clips related to that. Yeah, look up Jerky Boy's hemorrhoids. They'll have some advice for you. What do you think of the new Tesla Cybertruck electric pickup that was announced? I'm not sure. I don't know if that was on purpose to get discussion or if it's an example of a billionaire being out of touch. I mean, one, okay, a person buying I would imagine your average person buying a pickup truck, it's probably going to be more on the conservative side of design. So they kind of want something that looks sort of like a normal pickup truck. And that totally does it. And two, the truck looks like something I would have come up with if I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old. I can sort of see what they're doing. Like the top of it looks like it's straight out of like a stealth bomber. And then the bottom of it, like especially like the part around the wheels, looks like just poor design. Like again, it's how I would probably be drawing a car if I was 8. Or not that I'd draw a car that much better now from memory. I can draw one well looking at one, but so I don't know. I guess they're just trying to get publicity. It's a publicity stunt. Or if it's serious, then he really is that out of touch, so. Although my favorite comment on it has to be, everybody's knocking the Tesla Cybertruck, but can you imagine how fast that's going to run with the graphics set to ultra low? So I don't think anything tops that comment. So. Yeah, I use Premiere for video editing, though I should probably switch to something else. Premiere is just sort of bugging me more and more. Yeah, I'd be curious what people's recommendations are for like what's the nicest video editor to use once you know what you're doing. So in other words, there could be a learning curve, but once you know it, it's nice. You want for nothing. It's slick. It's I don't need to do that many advanced effects for the most part. Oh, geez. Well, this one needs more votes. If you give any hand review. Give any hand reviewed on Game Dungeon a modern day. Oh. Okay, I think they're missing a word there. Picked the wrong word. I guess which Game Dungeon would it. Any game reviewed on Game Dungeon modern day reboot, which one would it be? Maybe Quarantine. Although, you know what? Veil of Darkness wouldn't be bad as a reboot, especially if they were willing. I think I'd like it more as like a more action RPG kind of thing. Fully 3D kind of ground level kind of exploration thing. That'd be pretty cool too. Would you stream Bloodstain as your next game whenever you have time? I don't have a copy of it. Maybe. I don't know. There's so many other Castlevania games that like I think I'd rather play before Bloodstained. So, I mean, even though that's by one of the creator, it's like the tonally it's far. It feels like it's farther off from Castlevania than some of the others I've seen. Let's see. Okay, we have like a triple question here. How up to date are you with the 2020 Democratic primaries? A little bit. Let's see. How does the campaigns like Andrew Yang's resonate with you? I haven't heard all of his policies yet. My guess is he probably won't be the front runner. So it's. Do you have a certain okay? Yeah, this is a good. Do you have a certain take on universal basic income in regards to how AI and automation overtake manual labor in the U.S.? Yeah, I feel like I need an update to my robot jobs video. Though I feel like it still works, but I hadn't heard this argument at the time I've made it. And since I've heard it, I haven't been able to get it out of my head. And I haven't heard a good rebuttal towards it. So, hey, if there are people who are big fans of Andrew Yang, if he's answered this, let me know what his answer is. Or if he hasn't, ask him this. Okay, let's see we get universal basic income implemented. He's saying, what, $1,000 a month. What's to stop, like, landlords and landowners and everything from looking at this and realizing, hey, everybody has more money now. We can raise our prices and people are going to be able to take it. So I don't think this would happen like overnight or anything, but let's say like it's implemented next year. Over the course of 10 years, what stops the cost of living from just happening to go up by $1,000 a month over the course of like the next 10 years plus inflation. Because it seems, I feel like the market might just swallow that up. And yeah, I mean, it's, somebody's saying you just explained inflation. Well, it wouldn't be just inflation. I think most of it might go for rent, actually. Because, I mean, if there's inflation on a luxury good, that doesn't matter, really. But if it's for, yeah, I mean, now that they know everyone's getting it, see these experiments where they've done universal basic income, it was for a region or something where it was sort of like a pocket exception where so yeah, I mean, I think it would do a lot of good in the short term, but, okay, someone's saying rent prices in France is tied to market value. I mean, it seems like that would have to be part of the bill then in order to tie that, because rent's probably where most people's money goes, I'd imagine, that or like healthcare stuff. I mean, if he plans to cap it at market value, maybe, but that'd be a tall order to get passed in the United States, because my understanding is like landowners have a quite powerful lobbying presence, especially with like local politics. So I guess I would really need to see it spelled out for me that, like, let's say again, after like 10 years, what has prevented this, from simply being a transfer of tax wealth to basically landowners? You know, what stopped that from happening? You know, with the universal basic income. And I haven't heard a good answer to that. So that doesn't mean there isn't a good answer. That just means I haven't heard it. And I barely heard this question raised where I'm thinking like, wow, that's actually a really good point. So yeah, you can email me on that too and explain it. But I haven't heard an answer from him. However, maybe he has answered it, but I just haven't seen that clip or something. So, because it hasn't. Oh, somebody's saying, what stops landlords from doing this with existing low-income housing support? Well, they kind of do. I mean, in my experience, I haven't known landlords to back off on raising prices over time. You know, even past the point. In fact, I think, okay, somebody would have to look this up. I think the cost of living for renting in particular, or ownership, has actually outpaced inflation. So in other words, there's normal inflation for food and everyday items, but for rent, I think it's gone even higher, actually, the rate that it's gone. So, I don't know, it's like, in order to prevent that, you would need it seems like you would have to have like a combo punch, you know, where you have the universal basic income and you have some measure preventing that from just being a down payment on your next apartment because the prices have risen so much. So, but yeah, it'd probably do a fan. And I hadn't thought of that when I made the Robot Jobs video. So yeah, feel free to spell it out for me. I'm not saying this is how it is. I'm saying, you know, this seems like a major issue you would have to address ahead of time. So it's a lot easier to spot potential problems than it is to necessarily come up with the solutions to things. So. What are some of your favorite heroes if they're in real life or fantasy sci-fi stories? Well, I guess he's sort of an anti-hero. I like Kane, you know, from the Legacy of Kane series. He's just very interesting. He's kind of ruthless, but he's very interesting and thoughtful too. You know, he's a complicated person. Some other hero. Well, I like the Tick. It's a good superhero. Let's see, what are some others? Yeah, I think we mentioned earlier another one about comic books. I like Judge Dredd. He's a very ruthless good guy and uncompromising. There's certainly an admiration of that, you know, just a ruthless good guy that just takes, that accepts no compromises. I mean, that could be very refreshing to see in fiction, you know. Reality, Let's see. Well, okay, I'm drawing a blank at some others. Been doing this a while. Do you have other skiing stories about times where you saw weird things, or about times where I'm sure there have, but see, these need to get voted towards the top because then I'll see them sooner. It'll give me time to think about them and remember all this stuff. I don't know if I have any obvious ski stories. I saw a girl just plow right into those little nets that they have. I mean, just was going full speed, just bam. And she wasn't screaming or anything. She was just acting like she's a pro and just bam, right into one of those like little makeshift nets. I guess that's what they're there for. No, the best ski story I had was from well, actually that same trip that from the one I mentioned, the Freak Out Extreme Freeride episode. I drove there with my friend. I think it was for my birthday. And while I was there, we were a ways out. We were like an hour or so from where I live. We had driven towards it. The key to my ignition broke. And so it just broke off like right in there. And we were thinking, oh God. But what we were able to do, it turns out the other half of the key, there was just enough in there that when we inserted it, if I held it really carefully, we were able to start the ignition again. So that took me a while to fix actually, and later drain the battery, but not while we were out there. So we didn't get stranded, fortunately. But we ended up making it back. Yeah, at first we thought we were going to be stranded and it's winter and it's cold and we don't. Yeah, later I actually ended up having to buy a little key extraction kit. There was something made specifically for this. It's probably pretty similar to a lockpicking kit, but that worked. I was able to finally get the chunk of key out of there. Yeah, it's yeah, we had a bit of a scare with that, but somebody's asking where's the Curse Farm merchandise. It's like, man, I'd rather just get more videos out. I may get to it eventually, but I'm sorry, guys. The merchandise side of things, that's always like very low on the priority for me because my heart is so not into that. That's the best way to put it. And I'd much rather get more videos out. Okay, it's probably obvious. Okay, how different is your opinion about Stadia to the Xbox Game Pass thing? Well, there's two things. One, the easy answer, I don't know if they have this, is I am 100% exclusive games for any streaming service. For any streaming service. Because then you're basically signing its death warrant right from the get-go. Now, if it's a streaming service, but you can also buy the game and play that offline or, the end-of-life plan, then that's fine. That's just a rental option. It's still not my thing because there's going to be the latency and then there's going to be compression of some things. Like look at the Crew episode, the part where I'm going through like the forest for like a few seconds. So streaming does not like forest, like with forest with no motion blur, and maybe they'll solve that eventually. So if it's just a streaming service, then fine, whatever. However, look, I kind of feel like these companies are all the same and that even if they don't have streaming exclusives now, they're probably using this as a poison pill to get you onto one of those later. So it's like, no, we're not launching with streaming exclusives. This is just a rental service. Then 2 years later, okay, we're proud to announce our new exclusive game for our streaming. Yeah, I kind of don't feel like any of them have the best interest at heart for game preservation. So even though Stadia is 100% made its intentions known, I doubt the others are that far off. So it's all a danger as I see it. That said, I do have a spark of optimism that's going to get covered in one of the other sort of side videos I want to do. I'll cover that thoroughly and reason to be sincerely optimistic. and not just for legal, not just, and it's not from a legal perspective. So I have ideas. I'll say that. Am I still stranded on the moon? Close enough, you know. Okay, we're getting down to the 1-point question, so I should. Okay, somebody's talking about Psycho Soldier. Oh, okay, did that have a sing-along? Let's see. Okay, so another popular game song. Let's see. Freeman's mine too. Freeman says the cops are capped. Oh, yeah. Does that mean brainwashed or corrupt or what exactly? That's a reference to the tripods, which the Striders look a lot like. Yeah. So somebody's mentioning another Offspring. If there were good Offspring albums post Smash, yeah, Ixnay on the Ombre. That one's pretty solid too. I don't think it's as good as Smash, but it's pretty good. Okay, well, I'm skipping stuff asking about what's going to happen in Freeman's mind. Oh, asking about the music use in the videos. I'd compare it to abandonware, is what I would do. That's the easiest answer. There's not an official, or usually there's not an official mandate of it, but if the companies show no interest in going after people for it, then it's it's in a sort of a gamble, you know. I'll probably play Half-Life Alyx eventually, though I don't have equipment to play it yet. I still have a DK2, but okay, and I'll go to. I got done sooner, a little faster than I thought I'd do. So yeah, if you want to ask me questions from the live chat, do 3 equal signs in front of your question. Okay, I spotted one that has the @Ross broadcast. That one's better when I'm looking at Twitch. When I'm not looking at Twitch, then the 3 equal signs are easier for me. Okay, so I'll start with that one then. Do you think I answered your question, man, already at the beginning? I'm not using Source 2. However, civil protection could resume on Unreal or possibly Unity, but you know, they would have to prove all my instincts and intuitions and impressions about Valve wrong for me to go to Source Engine 2. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying based on all the accrued evidence, experiential evidence that Valve has demonstrated with the Source Engine, the Source SDK, and the Source Filmmaker, I have zero confidence that will be better for me to make a new civil protection compared to Unreal or Unity. So I haven't really followed the Stadia launch. I did watch their commercial for it, which unfortunately their commercial's pretty good actually. But yeah, it was entertaining. But however, I almost made a Twitter post on this. What they said at the end sums up perfectly how they would address me. It's like, do not think the things you think about things, I think was the quote. It's like, yes, the things you think about game preservation, do not think that, like, yeah, because that's all they have, But it was pretty slickly put together and amusing, so. Although, hey, I'll say something positive about the Stadia commercial. The way they showed it, that's a little bit like what VR is like. Like, kind of seeing yourself in the game like that. So that, if you want like a tiny taste of what it's like, parts of it are like that. So I'm glad it went badly. Hopefully that'll have a chilling effect on the industry. But man, they're full speed ahead on this. So that's okay. I'm not going to tell you what the video is about, but it's definitely ties into streaming. that's one of the reasons I kind of want to get that one out a little sooner, as opposed to the Freeman's Mind is #1 in line right now, so don't worry about that. But compared to some of the other Freeman's Mind and Game Dungeon ones that kind of keep going on because they're less timely, whereas this one, like, oh my God, I gotta get it out. But oh yeah, I will say Half-Life Alyx kind of inspired me to kind of get more done on Freeman's Mind. I'll say that. I'll say that. So it's like, oh, probably won't happen, but would be awesome if I was back in City 17 by the time Half-Life Alyx came out. I think there's probably too much of the game still, but that would be nice, you know. But what I'm making, I feel like, is more kind of, I don't know if urgent is the right word, but timely, you know. Okay, so. Okay, yeah, okay, somebody's asking if I had personal satisfaction or fun out of streaming Le Card Chronicles 2 for us. Would you prefer to just game alone, or is it entertaining to play games while chatting with the audience? It's half and half of both. I absolutely, I guess if every aspect of it was easier, I would enjoy it more. The thing is, I have to go and get my second monitor, which is over there, you know, by my clothes and everything, that I'm using as a second. I have to go and bring that Brown back and hook it up each time, then set up the lights, set up the mic and everything. You know, I thought before I could use, you know, isn't Doc Ock one of the villains in Spider-Man with the mechanical arms? I would love to have a desk designed by Doc Ock where I could just kind of move monitors in and out, or, you know, move microphones in and out, have everything just like I hit a couple buttons. Oh, I'm in streaming mode. Hit a couple buttons. Okay, back to normal working mode. Okay, hit a couple buttons. Okay, now I'm into recording for the videos mode, you know. Whereas it's always like I have to do all these steps to get to it, which is sort of a minor deterrent for it. So there's that. And there's the other thing is, I don't usually play that long on a game on my own. Like if I usually will do games for more like an hour or two, then kind of get back to work or other things. So I'm kind of going longer for the audience. And the other thing is, I don't necessarily like talking that long with it. I mean, it would probably be more fun if like somebody else talking with somebody else so they could kind of take it up. I mean, for like the first hour, yeah, sure. Maybe hour and a half, 2 hours. But once it starts getting past that, it can be a little more, I can feel my throat straining more. Then I feel like, oh, I have to think of things to say to the audience. So it's always a mixed feelings for me. But when I'm starting off, I almost always genuinely enjoy it. So it's, okay, I should get more questions. Ross, I can never seem to follow a schedule properly. I need help. Geez, I can struggle too because the problem I run into is I can schedule things, but you have all witnessed how I am with time estimations. Oh, sure, I'll get this aspect done in 2 hours and then move on to the next. No, you're not even 40% done, sucker, like after the first 2 hours, but you need to do this part, and then everything goes to hell afterwards. So I guess the best advice I could give for your schedule of things, figure out what's absolutely essential that you cannot compromise on. Like, you have to do this. Work around that. See how long that takes you. I mean, like, really takes you. And then maybe add a little bit more budgeting time for that, and then see what else you can work in. And it could be you have no time for anything else, in which case, welcome to my world. So, all right, let's see what's next. So yeah, start off easy. Start off as generous to yourself as you possibly can with scheduling. Have you played a game that substantially changed your view of an entire genre of games? I disliked stealth games until I played Splinter Cell 1, then I understood why people enjoyed the genre and came back enjoy it myself. Not really. I mean, I don't really like turn-based combat. However, I've seen all these games that look great. You know, like the XCOM series, or there's that Divinity Original Sin, or a lot of RPGs were like, wow, the story sounds great. The The presentation's great, theme's great. Yeah, I still don't enjoy this. So I guess not. But I'm probably drawing a blank though. I feel like there might be an exception I remember, but okay, let's see. See, I lost track already. I have played the game Stasis. It was well done, but it wasn't my favorite. It's the sort of thing where that one is more depressing, and plus, they're used synonymously, but Stasis is a true horror game. That game is horror. What I actually like are scary games. It doesn't have to be jump scares, but ones that like, oh, there's a menace, the monster's out there, or, like there's some menacing force that we're trying to survive against. And those often overlap with horror, but that's really not what Stasis is. It's horror. And I'm actually not a big fan of just horror. It's more like that comes with the terror, the scary games, and that works with it. But I like the focus to be like stuff that really scares me, or feels like you're going off into some dangerous situations, And this focus more on just like smashing the human psyche kind of thing. So yeah, no, it's a good game. It's just not to my taste, Oh, that's true. The decade's ending. I hadn't thought of that. What was your favorite year? Things you did, the memories in general, 2010s. How much have changed? Things have changed substantially for me. Jeez. Okay, I guess in 2010, I had finished working at Machinima. Yeah, I was back kind of out in the middle of nowhere, I think, by then. And yeah, I think that's when I did the April Fool's episode for Freeman's Mind. So yeah, I hadn't started Game Dungeon. I had the idea for the movie still then, but I'm still not as far along as I want to be on the movie, but it's happening at least. Geez, I moved to Poland, got married. Yeah, that's a big difference. Yeah, got off sugar mostly. Or got more under control anyway. The favorite year though, I don't know. I mean, the least favorite was dealing with Machinima. That caused me so much stress. I mean, it's kind of getting better and better for me, I think, gradually. But because I was still working quite a bit then, but yeah, actually I was working less, I think, then. Because I had more time for things like hikes and stuff like that. Because it was still, the upside to Machinima is I was getting more income for the videos from that. But I don't know if there's any specific, well, VR, Rise of VR, that I'm loving that. I am loving that. And I'm still optimistic where it's going. So even if I may never be the biggest VR gamer, I'm still going to be a huge VR advocate, acolyte, I'm going to be wanting to explore all these worlds. Do you have any goals for the 2020s? Yeah, but lots of them. I guess that might be a better question for next time, but catch up on all the emails, get a lot more done on the movie, knock off these one-time videos I want to do, push forward my sort of campaign to stop games from being killed as far as I possibly can. I mean, it doesn't mean I'll stop. Although I have a kind of plan B, which is going to come up in another video. But yeah, I guess just get more done at Freeman's Mind and Game Dungeon. Sorry, that's not like a cornerstone for 2020. But see, this other stuff is like one-off stuff that I can get out of the way, Did you listen to 80s post-punk, like The Cure, The Smiths, etc.? Little bit, mostly just what I've heard from like soundtracks. But yeah, it can be all right. I haven't played The Last Door yet. I plan to. Have you tried VR chat on Steam? No, I haven't. Don't know if I have much interest in that. I mean, for VR chatting. I want to be a VR explorer. I basically want to go on safaris and in virtual worlds. That's the big draw for me. I have not played any of the Souls games yet, the Dark Souls. Dark Souls wasn't quite cheap enough on the sales this year for me. I'm gonna wait till it gets lower. If you had an infinite budget to develop a project with a condition it can't be video game related, what would you do? Well, I mean, it'd be like what I mentioned for the billionaire thing. I mean, I'd be trying to just get humanity sustainable and like stop as much preventable suffering as I could, you know. But I guess for just like creative project, yeah. I mean, I'd probably do a movie. I mean, but like this, the movie, it's kind of inspired by a game, but it's not strictly game related. But even if it couldn't even be inspired by a game, yeah, I could come up with tons of stuff for movies. So. No, eventually give it thoughts on Black Mesa. Man, I'm just not in a rush to play it. You've seen the game list, man. It's like I've seen Half-Life so many times that even a remake of it is just kind of like, well, okay. Whereas I have all these other games I haven't played, so I don't think I have a favorite sea shanty. Although, as a present, for one year for my mother, I put together I got there's a sea shanty edition from the Assassin's Creed games. I think from Assassin's Creed 4 and from Rogue, where that's more her kind of thing, right? Where she enjoys folk music and stuff like that. That said, out of the ones that were in there, I think there was one about some guy being shanghaied that was kind of funny, but I'm not big into sea shanties. If you're big into that, I'm pretty sure it's in the Assassin's Creed Rogue soundtrack. So maybe you can figure out which one that is. It's... Do you have any more examples or sequels of your favorite games that are ruined by consoles like Invisible War? Well, the easy one is Supreme Commander 2. I mean, there's a stark difference between those two. Another one, I started playing some of it. It's clear there's a big difference. I started finally playing some of Fear 2 this year. I mean, the original Fear is awesome. And it feels just watered down, too. I mean, it's not... Okay, my voice is going. I said this is the sick episode. I should probably cut this down soon. But yeah, you can tell there were differences in it. It's... there's probably a couple others. I'm trying to... Yeah, it would probably be like mid-2000s is when most of that sort of thing was happening. Did you get to check the best ending for Lacard 2? It's linked on my playthrough of it, Curse Farms Junk. It's in the description. So yeah, it was pretty good ending, but you know. What hardware do you need the most? Okay, I might actually be okay for that because well, giant storage is always appreciated, but I was planning to upgrade a little bit of that anyway. So, but yeah, storage is always appreciated. Then at some point I'm going to get VR, but that's not really under the need category. But storage I'm still making do. Someday I'm going to set up a NAS, but I don't really think I have space for that. And that probably wears down the drives a little bit faster than what I'm doing, of just plugging in externals when I need them. Yeah, someone's mentioning the Discord instead of email for getting people to record footage. That can be good, except I say, I'll need this, they get that footage, and then come back and it's like real choppy, and then I have to ask for it again, and then maybe their system can't handle that. I don't know. It can be, or I have to explain the anti-aliasing methods. Maybe I could do that. I don't know. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, I guess if I need something short notice, maybe I should try just reaching out to Discord. After you finish your projects, will you do more civil protection? I have to see how I feel after the movie. It's definitely on the table. You know, if I didn't have to animate, absolutely. But how'd you get into Total Biscuit, Lazy Game Reviews, and Ahoy videos? Are they fans of your stuff? Well, unfortunately, Total Biscuit can't answer that. But actually, I forget the Ahoy ones. I think that's the one I did a cameo, but I still haven't seen the cameo. I don't know. Sometimes I see recommended stuff on YouTube or people recommend different channels towards me. Yeah, I mean, lazy, and sometimes it depends on the topic too. Like, that's how a lot of my video browsing can go. People ask like, oh, what news do you recommend or what channel you recommend? It's like, well, it depends on like what topic I'm looking at, because like Lazy Game Reviews did one on the Roland MT32, which I'm very interested in, because you know that's like, well, I talk about, I got apparently emulation of it is possible, but I got that wrong in Veil of Darkness. But yeah, for some games that was the best version. Whereas some of his other stuff where he's talking about some weird other device or old computer, I'm not as interested in, so it can kind of vary. So, are you reading any books? Yeah, I'm reading right now from the Stars, or yeah, I think it's Return from the Stars. I'm liking it. It's about science fiction. It's about this guy who comes back from near faster than light. It's sort of like Planet of the Apes, you know, as in, you know, they're out in deep space and they come back to Earth, except, you know, it's not all apes. It's 130 years in the future, even though he's only aged 10 years, and it's very different, the future. So it's an interesting take on it. It's sort of like, so far, it's feeling like the very light and pleasant end of dystopia, you know? Where it's sort of blurring the line. Is this dystopia or utopia, you know, kind of thing. But I think I'm only about a third of the way into it. More about Castlevania, that answered. What's your opinion on cinematic games or game with a focus on lengthy cutscenes? I think it's fine if you know what you're getting into. Like, actually, one game I started but I need to finish is Late Shift, where it's a full motion video game. You know, it's kind of your interactive movie. I don't mind that if the content's good, you know, and you know what you're getting. You know, you don't want to go in there expecting a first person shooter, then you're given nothing but cinema clips. But if you're expecting a cinema, like I mentioned in the Caves World Saga, the press X to not die. It's not hiding what it is, you know. It's very short, but it's entertaining, you know. Okay, they're saying I look more refreshed and alive. That makes me happy. Well, good. I was a little worn down, I think, at the last one, but I still have a lot to do. Maybe I'll check out Black Mesa sometime. Let's see. It's just, maybe once I get on top of other games, you know, after that game list video, you have an idea of like how overwhelming the choices are now. And I mean, it's spoiled for choice, which again softens the blow from games as a service, but games as a service is a menace that's growing. You know, it's like it's gonna swallow up more and more games. So like I see it as like a clear and present danger to just gaming in general. But the consolation prize is, good God, there's so many promising games that aren't like that. So I'd rather just not even have to worry about it, you know? Okay, I think I'm caught up on the questions, unless I missed one. So I'll give it another minute or something. Let's see. Oh, I'm backtracking. Okay. Oh, okay. How do you keep yourself engaged in games? Started to notice on my end that I'm leaning towards watching others play games compared to wanting to play games. Thoughts? Well, I guess the game's not that good then. Like, look, the best games are the ones where you're like having to stop yourself. You know, it's, I mean, usually if I'm really questioning whether I want to keep playing this, that means it's probably not worth my time, and it probably is worth going and just watching a playthrough for the end of it if you want to see how it turns out. So, there are other games to go with, you know? I mean, I guess here's the test that you do. You take how you feel about the game right now and compare that against replaying some game that you love, you know, especially like a multiplayer or something, because that's what you could be doing instead for your free time. And if it's just, no, I think we'd rather replay the game I know than just give up on it, watch a playthrough if you want to see the rest of it. It's not like the old days where you just have the one game, so that's your entertainment, unless you're stuck in an Arctic base or something somewhere. Then I guess you better just go through it. But yeah, there's so much choice now. It's, yeah, I mean, I'm merciless. I mean, I did that Castlevania one. I was enjoying it, but boy, it made me hesitant in a few areas because the game design got so brutal, and then the boss is so ridiculously easy compared to everything else. So I didn't see that coming. I am aware of Darkest Dungeon, but it is turn-based, so that's just not going to be for me. But maybe I could watch a playthrough of it or something, even though I think it's not quite the same each time. Or that was just my guess. Ross, do you ever tie your hair? Very rarely. I mean, again, if I was gonna do like stuff with like a power tools, then yeah. But otherwise, not usually. I don't like how I look as much in it. Okay, I think. Oh, okay. There's another question that they didn't use like equals marks. They even got the narrator of the Lovecraft Stories audiobooks as the narrator in the game. I didn't know there was a special narrator for Lovecraft audiobooks. I think audiobooks kind of came along after the Lovecraft books. All right, I can feel that I'm spent. I'm gonna go maybe sleep a little bit, but thanks for showing up. I appreciate your patience that I don't have more out, but cool stuff is coming, and I think I have at least one, maybe two, videos at some point where not going to appeal to everyone, but the people it does appeal to are really going to appreciate it. So I have a couple like that coming. So, and of course, Freeman's Mind next. Freeman's Mind and Christmas. So, and then we'll just see whatever else I manage to get completed first after that. All right. See you later.